What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo, taking a look at UFC 315, which is Malal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. And of course, to do all of that with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Ohio player, my co-host, and a man who is not a dummy, but the thing behind him sure is, Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, I am fucking good today. I can't tell you how often the fights end and then Sunday passes and I have so many thoughts that I have to get out. So I'm glad that we finally get to wrap around to Monday night and I'm ready.
Absolutely. Same here. This was a very interesting one, I would say. A lot of ups and downs on this event. So, of course, we're going to get into all of these fights here in just a moment. If you are new to the show, we're going over each and every one of the fights on UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. If you got something that you want to talk about in the chat that does not pertain to the fight that we are talking about at the time, throw it in there. Remind us a little bit later in the stream. We'll come back to it and address it at that time. But to begin, this is UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. This went down at the Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines, Iowa. And Chase, I know that you have a lot of feelings about the great state of Iowa. What did you think about Iowa and this event?
I said it months ago. This is a weird place to have a card. And I even came into this and I felt a little, I was like, okay, maybe it is coming together. This isn't like horrible. I mean, some of the fights, we'll talk about, but this one here was very cursed. I told you guys this was just not the card. I knew it a while ago, and I hate that I went against my best judgment. But yeah, this one here definitely had some wonky stuff going on. I'll give you that.
Yeah, this was the first time in 25 years that the UFC has been to Iowa, period. And I believe they said the first time that they were ever in Des Moines, which I was like, what other city in Iowa were they in? 25 years ago, of course, was a very different version of the sport. So maybe it was one of the ones where they were kind of in a backwoodsy sort of situation. But either way, yeah, this was an interesting one in a lot of ways. They had a lot. The crowd was definitely there for fights. You know, they were very active in the crowd, very vocal in the crowd, and these fights were quite a mixed bag. I would say it was a lot of ups and downs on this card, perhaps more downs than ups at times, but some standout performances here and there. And of course, we'll get into every one of them. So starting this thing off, Juliana Miller versus Ivana Petrovic. Petrovic used to train in Norway, where MMA is still illegal. So they need to get that sorted out in the great country of Norway. Get MMA legalized, please. But she moved her camp to Las Vegas and didn't learn a damn thing, apparently. Chase, what did you think of this fight?
Well, okay. Let's start by going into this fight. You have somebody who's going into it at 4-3, and her nickname is Killer Miller, by the way. I want you guys to understand that they gave the nickname Killer to somebody who had lost more than 50% of the time of her career. And I will eat my words by thinking she did not deserve said title. She is not a killer, quote unquote, but she's better than somebody who got some pretty privilege on the damn betting lines. I'll tell you that. And I want to make a point. Pretty privilege gets you places, and somehow it can get you to believe that somebody has a skill set that is just not there. I don't know what the hell Petrovic had, because they first off they started talking about how she's got that she's kind of got some sneaky subs. She's a brown belt. Chase Hooper, I would like to make a point that he questioned who gave her the brown belt, because after this fight we didn't see nothing grappling related that shows you she should have any type of credentials. But alas, the striking also, they were telling us that she's a kickboxer. Like she's somewhere she was a great kickboxer. I also did not see that. I'm just very confused on where the minus 260 line came from, because Ivana, I did bet on you, of course. I mean, I wasn't gonna bet on the 4-3 woman, but like the fact that you let somebody who's 4-3 walk all over you for 3 rounds, like I know they gave 29-28. I don't know which round they would have gave Petrovic, to be honest, but this one was just a very sketchy start. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, no, though they said that the first round, going back and doing the rewatch, listening to the commentary, they were like, "Oh, Miller was doing nice work early on in that first round, and then she let it slip away from her towards the end." And I was like, "Really? I mean, like, based on what exactly?" Because you're saying that her brown belt, and where were the BJJ skills? The striking skills were not there either. She didn't do much of anything in this entire fight. This was a completely one-sided affair from a fighter who was not doing all that much herself. I mean, basically the way that I like broke this down was that it was a close fight because they're both so very mid, and Miller just outmitted Petrovic in the second two rounds at least, if not all three. So yeah, I mean, this was a sleepy way to start, and the crowd was not happy from the second that this card started for this exact reason. This was one of many, many clinch heavy fights on this card. I'm sure you're going to hear that note coming up over and over again. And it was just a really it was a struggle fest. I mean, that's the way that I would think about it. Like, they were both kind of jockeying for position when nobody was really taking the lead and making it happen, except for Miller in select instances, I would say.
When I see fights like this that come the first fight of the night, there's two thought processes you can have. Okay, they want everybody seated, and they want to watch something like they want to see something entertaining really quick. Or you get the ones where it's like, well, they want everybody to go get their hot dogs and stuff first before they get seated. So we got to have something going on for 20 minutes, and it's unfortunately this fight here because nothing too interesting was going on. Juliana Miller, like I said, in my opinion, I mean, she just walked her down, she beat her up for it wasn't technically beating up, but she won the fight all 3 rounds, in my opinion. Petrovic, it, you oftentimes get these matchups where you're like, why would she be matched up with somebody who's 4-3? But then after the fight, you're like, well, they matched them up because this was a fucking quality matchup, apparently. Like, you just question so many things going into like, how could, when you see a line like this, minus 260, you're thinking, okay, this is an easy win for her. Like, what could make them have a matchup so bad? And then you unfortunately find out that the fucking favorite was the one who had all on the line here. Like, I don't get it. It was so crazy to start off the card with this because it was just I just got let down instantly. Like, not even hope.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the notes that I have about the actual action, quote unquote, of this fight was that Miller does have long arms, and she likes to like throw those rangy shots a lot. She's kind of one of those like distance strikers when she's actually doing some striking, which could have left her open for some counters for Petrovic, but she just didn't do it. And then when Miller started to switch towards the more wrestle heavy side of things, she got a couple of decent takedowns, and she is actually somewhat active on the ground with strikes. So I did give her some credit there. Like, she's scrappy. That's what I always say about Juliana Miller in general. I was saying this on the watch along. I'm like, I watched her season of Tough, of course, and like, she's definitely a chick with an attitude. You know what I mean? She's got like a little bit of a chip on her shoulder kind of thing. She's definitely kind of has a distinct personality, I would say, and her fight style somewhat represents that, I think. But like, it's just not polished enough to be like world class in any respect. So it's kind of crazy to think that she won the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, like, that's a wild thing to think compared to like what she's actually done post that. But yeah, I mean, did she win this fight? Sure, but it's very easy to win a fight when your opponent is doing next to nothing, and that's really what Petrovic was doing, is next to nothing.
The last thing I want to know, and it's because I noticed it instantly, but it had nothing to do with the outcome of the fight or anything leading up to it. Juliana Miller looks just like Decheva. Did you not catch this?
They do look similar. I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nose is definitely similar. They have distinct
I
noses.
Yeah, she's just the American Decheva. Now the skill set is definitely not close,
Yeah,
but I mean she looks dead on like her, and that's the only thing that I think that was the lasting effect on this is like, oh, that's the girl that looks like Decheva, who's just not great.
that
So
would be a nightmare mirror match for her
yeah,
if they ever put that one together. Yeah, last thing I had about it was that Miller did lose her grandmother recently, which is obviously very sad. And it's nice that she dedicated this win to her grandmother. Might have been nicer if it was a better win, but hey, a win's a win, and obviously, condolences for that, of course.
100%.
Yeah, that's I mean, oh well, actually, the one other thing I did want to mention, well, first of all, shout out to Beeb in the chat, appreciate and see you, brother. But also from the watch along, Have you ever heard the story of Juliana Miller beating up the YouTube audit person? Does this sound familiar to you in any respect?
No clue what you're talking about. Hilarious sounding though, so I'm excited.
It's as entertaining as it sounds. So, this is your homework for after the stream, everybody. 'Cause we won't show it here, but if you Google this, you'll be able to find there's a video of Juliana Miller when she's in the post office, and you don't get the setup, but that's the real unfortunate part of everything because it's like there's definitely a confrontation that happened before the camera started rolling, but it's one of those situations where the dude is filming her and she's filming the dude, so you already know that there's something going on between them, and so they're jawing at each other. She goes and flips the dude's hat up like near assault, but I don't know, questionable on that part. Whatever. She laid her hands on him. Yada yada. She ends up fleeing the post office, or at least she like finishes her business in the post office. She leaves the post office and then she bolts across 4 lanes of oncoming traffic to get away from this
Nice.
guy. Yeah,
Nice.
and jumps a fence as well. So yes, this video is kind of crazy stuff. So Juliana Miller is definitely a scrappy young lady in the streets. A little less so in the cage, but go check the video out on your own time there, and you'll see something entertaining.
You know what? This is a good story. Now that I hear it, I do believe the Killer Miller mantra. I got it. I got it.
Yeah, yeah, killer in the streets for sure. And shout out to David Burns for bringing that to my attention.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's keep the train moving here with the train. This is Thomas the Train Peterson versus Dontel Mays. Is Peterson a low-key wrestling beast at heavyweight, Chase?
I hope that you're not serious, but I would like to just start out by saying, for somebody, listen, going back to the nicknames, your nickname Killer Miller, your name Thomas the Train, and you got like you can't hit for shit. Like you're a heavyweight. No, no, no. What? Okay, let's break it down. The fight starts. You have two very sloppy heavyweights. They even said at the beginning, I want to make this note. Dontel Mays, quote unquote, tried cutting early on his career, and it didn't work for him. So he just
Cutting
does
just didn't take.
he just does not cut anymore, and in my mind, I'm listening to this, and I said, "So
Really
he
funny.
decides to be fat. So he just it's not cutting, it's not getting in shape, like, it's just, I'll just fucking fuck it, like, I'm just gonna be a heavyweight that's fat, like, I don't know." So that was the point that I wanna make there. Shout out to TJF, man. Yo, what's good,
Oh
CP?
yeah.
I like the little shout out there, buddy. Anyway,
What up, bro?
Thomas Peterson comes into this fight. The fight starts on the feet, goes to the ground as quickly as it could ever go. And then you got Thomas Peterson who throws up 2 triangle chokes. Arm triangle, excuse me, not triangle choke, sorry, that would be crazy. Arm
Head
triangle.
and arm.
Yes, he did the arm triangle, and he locks it in. Dontel May sits there and is just immune to it. BJJ just does not work. Bald, fat, black guys. I don't know. I don't know what the science is, but Dontel Mays just doesn't get choked out. Thomas Peterson then adjusts, gets the choke again, and mind you, I had Thomas Peterson by sub plus 600 on the slip, so this was
Ooh.
very frustrating to watch him sink in the choke 2 different times and say, "Fuck it," I'm not gonna get it. I'm just not gonna get it. I can't squeeze hard enough. I don't know. But this is like he literally was on the right side of the guard, had him past everything, and he just said, "Fuck it." And then I would understand if you say, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna choke him out," and then you finish with some ground and pound. But the fact that we have 3 rounds of ground and pound that is no pounding and mostly just sitting on the other fat person, Tom, you brother, like the ground and pound was it was decent because you won the fight. You had a 30-25 and 2 30-26s, probably one of the more epic scorecards that you could get, especially because we know you're not that great. But the fact you didn't finish this was so crazy to me. I didn't get the sub. Okay, I was waiting for it all fight because at some point, if you're not going to finish him, go for the sub again. He did not, by the way. He did not go for it after the first 2 attempts where he locked them in fully. So he clearly just don't got it. He just don't got it. I don't know what to tell you about that one. So call him a low key wrestling beast. Actually, we will talk about it later. I don't want to bring it up yet, but low key wrestling beast is pretty crazy. But he did lay on another dude for 13 minutes. So
Well,
the
and
stats will back up what you're saying. I just don't think the eye test is going to lend itself to that. Go ahead.
But that's my point is that it's at heavyweight. This is what you get as a low-key wrestling beast, though. I'm telling you, I'm sticking with this. Now, Grant, I'm very upset and sorry for you for not getting what you wanted out of the submission, because yes, we all would have liked that. But I mean, this was complete wrestling domination throughout this entire fight, as the scorecards definitely will reflect. Um, Commentary talking about Mays training with John Jones. Guess he didn't learn anything from him because he was on his back this entire fight, not doing a damn thing. Indeed. So another non-learner there.
Can we take
Yes.
a pause? That's the perfect thank you for bringing it up because as you watch this fight, you will have a clear understanding that Dontel Mays gets called up by John Jones anytime he figures out the most lethal technique that he wants to attempt on a sparring partner. And he goes in there and beats the shit out of Dontel Mays for 50 fucking minutes or however long they train. And then Dontel Mays surprisingly keeps a job because Dana White knows, well, if John Jones don't have a training partner, we're surely not gonna fucking get a fucking match. I don't know.
Well,
This is just crazy to me.
they
Continue.
yeah, they don't. I mean, you don't need to be in the UFC to be a training partner, and I'll get to that point a little bit later on. But yeah, no, I mean, I also was a little perplexed as to why Peterson abandoned the head and arm when he was in the exact right position for it. You were exactly correct. I mean, like it was, you could not have gotten more perfect, because that's always the note that I'm constantly talking about on the watch along when we're actually watching the fights in real time. I'm like, all he needs to do is swing that leg over so that he can get to the side. He was already on the side. He was exactly where he needed to be. And then it's just, nope, not going to happen. So yeah, I did think that that was a little bit crazy, but beyond that, it was just a continuous smother fest for Peterson. Mays had absolutely no answers. And in a division of people who have no answers on the ground, Mays may be the absolute worst grappler of them all. I mean,
Mhm.
he got laid on by Shamil, got laid on here. It is time to cut Dontel Mays. I
Heel
mean,
hooked by Cyril Gane, heel
it,
hooked by Walter Walker.
there you go. Those two. Yeah. And think about how rare heel hooks are in general. And we'll, of course, talk about the main event and coming up here in a little minute. But yeah, I mean, the fact that that Dontel Mays has just been walked through in sadly to say, embarrassing methods. I mean, like two where it was literally getting laid on top of, and then the other two, as you mentioned, where it's a rare submission, and that's for a reason. It's not supposed to be one that is actively sought after and actively works. So
Mm.
it's just like, I feel bad saying it, but like Dontel Mays has just showed us time and time again that he is not of the caliber. And this is heavyweight. This is where you can be a sloppy ball of nothing. And even for that, he's too sloppy of a ball. And 30-25, Chase, 30-25. I rest my case.
I actually want to bring up a good conversation. I think maybe you'll have some good insight for it. We watch so many heavyweights and we watch so many heavyweights that are just strikers. Like they just stand there and they just throw meaty hooks. Why have we never and they always talk about it and we will talk about later how body shots can add up. Why is there never a single heavyweight that has thought I could rip the body just one time and he's so fat. Like he's so fat and his cardio is so bad it's got to take a toll because
Because
there's no reason that we watch 15 minutes of head hunting and nothing amounts to it into a decision. Like at some point, like look at the body strike totals right here.
yeah,
2 strikes to the body landed. And I'm just saying it's a listen, when it comes to heavyweights, it's like what do you expect? It's like do I expect them a basic boxing combination? Like just a slip one, rip the body. I know it's dangerous because you're leaving your head open, but like you're obviously just headhunting the entire time. You're not going to get it even against Dontel Mays. I know this is a different case where he's fucking wrestling him and he's on top of him, but in general state in a general case, like I don't get how there's not one heavyweight that thinks adding up to the body will amount to something. I don't know. That's
because
just my
there's a protective layer of blubber that is keeping the fist from the internal organs.
I agree, but they always talk about the soft belly. So I just I can't imagine being fat is like the perfect technique for body defense. Like I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it would have been a good time to try it out, considering that Peterson had complete free reign here for this entire fight. As I said, 30-25, 30-26, and 30-26. Based Iowa judges, by the way. There's was a little bit of weirdness with some commission related stuff, but not a ton on this card. Credit where credit is due. One instance does stick out, but we'll talk about that. Other than that, I actually thought that the judging was pretty fair. So good job on this one because yeah, I mean a 30-25 is extremely rare, but it was certainly warranted here. And yeah, the only other thing that I had was that at the very end of the fight, Bisping called Thomas Peterson Steven Peterson, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah,
I'd
that's
forget his fucking name too. I mean, like, come on.
well. The other thing
Bisping
about
said some really stupid stuff tonight. Let me interject right there and
okay, all
say
right,
that. Also, I think the refing, the refs that we had that are just kind of like oddballs that we don't really see that often. There was
sure,
actually one that we'll talk about.
yes,
But I think for the most part, they maybe had some sketchy moments, but I
uh,
thought,
rare,
eh,
I think, rarer
mm,
anyway.
on this one, I think there was a couple that we'll talk about. But other
Okay.
than that, like I think all in all, yes, it wasn't the worst night of commissions,
Yeah.
whatever you
Oh
wanna
no. And trust. We have seen plenty worse than this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The last thing that I had for this is that if you saw the crowd shot at one point, I think it was before the fight started. Thomas Peterson had a little cheering section that were all dressed as train conductors, which I thought was very cute. But the funny thing to me is that Thomas Peterson is the train, but you have Thomas the Tank Engine right there waiting for you as a known thing that could be. I guess he's worried about copyright infringement with that, perhaps.
I think he's worried about not living up to the name. I mean, seriously. I mean, Thomas the Tank Engine. I mean, that's a Hall of Famer when you're talking about anything and like conductees. The railroad, the running of the railroad himself. He does it. Thomas Peterson here. What does he run except Dante Mays into the mat and lay on him? I
Well,
don't know.
and we
It's just
already have a train in the UFC. We know it's Big Nate the
E
Train. So
exactly. There can't be as many trains as you think there are because there's only one that comes to mind, and it's not this motherfucker, so
exactly. Look at this bicep landwear.
exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean that's pretty much about it. Really a one-sided affair over here for Mr. Peterson and Dontel Mays. I really think that we're going to be seeing him on the roster watch at sometime soon.
I just can't believe how special of a performance you have to put on to get 30-25, 30-26, 30-26, and still not look impressive. I'm just saying, like, that's just the last point that I think I'll make, is, like,
I
because we know for a fact Thomas Peterson, it's not like, "Holy shit, dark horse of the fucking division." It's like, no, he's gonna fucking lose his next one probably to Hamdi, like
Could be. Well, actually, that might not be a bad match. The big wrestlers going doing the wrestling thing. See who might actually be a low key wrestling beast over here.
mhm.
I did think that there were times when Peterson was moving like a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like where the wrestling acumen was showing through some of the stuff that he did. But when you can't secure and finish that submission that was so clearly for the taking, there it does raise a couple of questions. Yeah.
That's tailor-made for the big guys too, like, that's the sub if you're going
Right.
for a sub in heavyweights, light heavyweights, it's like, that's the one that they normally will go ahead and get. It's like they just muscle their way in there and they can squeeze them to death. Dontel Mays apparently is just immune, so I don't know.
Built differently, just not better.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
All
Just
right.
rounder.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's move on here. Next up, Gaston Bolaños versus Kang Lee. What was the
I go
pronunciation they
I
were
go
going with?
Kwang Lee.
Kwang Lee. I think that
Yeah,
that's what they were saying.
straight from
Um,
Mortal Kombat.
yes, Kwang Lee. What an actual beast over here, Mr. Lee is. That was a really solid performance here. What'd you think?
Dude, I told listen, I don't know if I was as adamant as I'm about to make it seem, but like on the previous week, this right here, this dog right here, this is the dog you put fucking money on. I don't care what you think about the region that he comes from or what he's going to be able to bring to the table in the long run. I can tell you, one, he's a striker and he's damn good at it.
Yeah.
Two, apparently he's got some damn good fucking grappling because he just left Bolaños face down. I can't tell you how good of a choke because and it was great. There's the sequence that ends it, where Kwang Lee actually has the choke in, but he wraps his arm up. He like grabs his like forearm because he doesn't have the actual choke. But he's holding out long enough for Bolaños to, try to make his move. And then and it was perfect execution, flips him over. And then this is the one, okay, there's maybe a couple moments. The reffing, I want to say it was Holt from American Dad. What's his name? The short, really buff guy. Um,
Oh, it wasn't. I know who you're talking about. No, it was the referee for this one was Tyrone Roberts. This is the dude from the golden age of the sport. He was a local dude. But
Well,
yeah,
either way,
the dude who you're talking about, I know. I forgot. Oh, his name is on
Copeland.
the tip of my. Yes, Gary Copeland. Jesus Christ, thank you.
Yes. Okay. So this fight right here, the choke was in, flipped him over. In my mind, I mean, it's over. There was actually a moment where you could see Bolaños. He like reaches for the hand, but like I feel like his brain just wasn't
Yeah,
working because like
body gave
like
out.
he just like kind of just like rubbed his face. Like it was like a weird. I was like he's going out. Like he's out, and then he flips him, and you could tell he's out. Kwang Lee even says he's out, he's out,
Yeah,
he's out. Like it was a dangerous choke because the ref didn't understand like the position that he was very compromised right there.
yeah, well, yeah, what I said about that, he definitely was asleep for a while. It was hard to tell at towards the end of it just because, by the time that it was the finishing ultimate finish position, Lee was on top, and so it was like he was kinda, like, smushed into the mat a little
Mhm.
bit. So, it was a little hard to tell for the referee, but the ref should have been a little bit quicker to checking the arm because
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
d
give the
yeah,
little limp check. If he would've been,
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I hear you.
totally. And that ref, of course, was, as I said, Tyrone Roberts, who's a former fighter from the golden age of the sport who competed at UFC 26, actually. He was in a co main event at UFC 26 way back in the day. Good to see him continuing on with the sport, but you got to be on top of stuff like that, man, because that was dangerous. You're correct.
Yeah, it was definitely dangerous, and especially not especially, but, like, I just think is very impressive for somebody who I'm coming in here knowing is lethal on the feet, and I'm expecting a dog fight from a dude who looks like Ilia Topuria against a dude from Mortal Kombat, and the fact that, the first round, it was, whatever. Oh, yeah, it ends in the second round. Yeah, first round was a little whatever. I can't tell you too much that happened. I know Kwang Lee won, but, like, can't tell you too much that was interesting. The second round started off a little quick, Bolaños charged right in at him and they got to striking a little kind of heavy-handed. Kwang Lee actually looked fucking he was looking good for that moment because he was
Oh,
popping
yeah.
it out. He was taking shots, but he was still flowing with the move, and then, obviously the grappling. The sequence was actually Bolaño's fault because he threw a high kick. Kwang Lee caught it and just shoved him to the ground. And then
Yep.
it was just a great sequence after that. That Kwang Lee did a lot of great things. There was a moment where he had his back and he trapped his left arm with the body hooks. So he only had one arm at that point, but then he ended up getting out of it. But then he still finished the choke. That is what is important. He did not let the back take become just nothing. He didn't let Bolaños wiggle out of it. He did a few times. He got up, and there was some grappling moments where you thought it was going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, Kwang Lee knew I got the advantage. I can't give him the opportunity to get up one more time. He's gonna have to go to sleep, and if I gotta smash his face for one extra time in the mat at the end on accident, that's just what we gotta do.
Yeah, so be it indeed. I mean, yeah, this Kwong Lee, really great, solid performance here. I mean, powerful shots, really nice blast double, which got Bolaños down. I believe that was first round. And not many submission threats in the first round, but he kept the power position through most of it. So it was like this really was pretty one-sided on Lee's side for most of this fight. It looked like Bolaños was like expecting a different start to things, and this is I constantly a note that you hear me coming back to is that a quick start, a start with intention can definitely be the decision maker. Now sometimes it's not. We'll talk about Misha Tate coming up here in a little bit, where she started pretty strong in her fight. It didn't work out that way for her. We'll get into that one when the time comes. But for Lee here, I think that it was the exact type of start that you want when you have a solid game plan in place, which is start working to finish from the start of the fight, which is really what he was doing. He's got some really nice striking, and obviously the grappling is there as well. I wouldn't say that it's like his forte necessarily, but he certainly knows what to do when he's in those positions. So you sting Bolaños on the feet, and then things go from bad to worse on the ground when he gets the rear naked locked in there for a second. I mean, like it only took a little bit of time to put him out altogether. So, good on him. This man really like was there to win this fight. And as I believe the only Vietnamese fighter on the roster currently, repping or one of the very, very few, if not the only one, repping a country that's underrepresented in the sport. I think that is a great thing.
I actually think I wanna make this note right before I go into the next point. Is like, did you notice how well he spoke English? This dude,
I
like,
did.
he I wouldn't have, because going into this, in my, incorrect assessment. I thought he was a road to the UFC guy. So that's my apologies. This is obviously some killer that people knew about because he didn't have to go through the hoops that other people do. They saw him in the LFA, and he's only 9-2, and he's been in the UFC for 3 fights now. So they obviously knew that this is somebody that can be the talent that we're looking for. He doesn't have to go to the Ultimate Fighter. He doesn't have to go to the road to the UFC. Whatever his path is, he got there with the skill and whatever credentials that he does have. Clearly, he's got something fucking good in the bag. But the UFC, the matchmakers, they know that this guy's going to be good. I'm just saying. Like, you can see with how the trajectory goes. Like, if they just jump into it, somebody had to have thrown his name out there. So
Yeah, well, and I mean, the credentials are being displayed right before your very eyes in a fight
yeah.
like that. Because really, it was very one-sided. I mean, Bolaños, I was expecting a little bit more out of him. I thought that he looked pretty decent in his last fight from what I had recalled, but I think that the circumstances in the last fight were a little bit more conducive to him than this one, obviously, because Lee came out here to win, and that is exactly what he did. So good stuff, man. I really enjoyed this fight.
Dude, I did too, especially because I knew when you have a dog that you just don't feel is rightfully, marked, and they come out here and prove to you why they should not have been the dog. It's just nothing sweeter, I tell you that. It sucks that he's probably not going to be the dog again, but that's why you got to be watching these dudes from the jump.
Bingo.
Early money can be made.
Absolutely. 10,000% correct there. And of course, after the first two fights, which were rather sleepy, this was a nice little pick me up, to go into the rest of this card. So good way to get the momentum back.
Yeah, this one probably should have been the opener.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely would have been off to a bang as opposed to what we got. So,
I mean, even without thinking it's gonna be a finish, I mean, on paper, like, I could tell you this one's gonna be better than the 2 heavyweights and probably the girl who's 4-3, I don't know.
yeah, perhaps. Well, whatever the case may be, we enjoyed it. And good
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
for Mr. Kong Lee. Can't wait to see him fight again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this fight was one that did my heart good. Jillian Robertson versus Marina Rodriguez. Of course, Jillian Robertson is a Yama favorite for a reason. She is a fantastic submission specialist who never stops working on the ground, leading up to the subs, always elbowing, always advancing, all gas, no breaks. And of course, the Vitz King is smitten with her. So we were very happy to see her get this win. What did you think, Chase?
I think it's unfortunate because it was probably 2 or 3 fights ago when I first saw Marina Rodriguez, and I thought to myself, like, "Damn, this is like, she's got a skill set that, you don't see very often." It sucks that 2 fights after that, I'm still wondering what I saw that first time. So, it's unfortunate that Jillian Roberts, who I don't believe should be somebody who's marked at a -270 against, somebody who's, like, competitive talent, but after seeing what happened here, I mean, Marina Rodriguez, obviously, we see how it ends, and, the end to her story, whatever you wanna say in the UFC, but I think it was just rightfully so that if you get finished by Jillian Roberts by TKO kinda deal, you gotta just, I mean, hang it up at that point because this is somebody who, in my opinion, is granted a decision. Like, this is 100% in the books. Jillian Roberts by decision, she's not gonna finish you unless you let her finish you.
Oh, this is I'm no,
Okay,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
standing for this. No, Jillian Robertson has I mean, she is tied for the most submission
I did see
finishes
that.
in women's MMA. I mean, she is a finisher.
Mhm.
And she's a submission artist for real. I mean, like she does the damn thing. I mean, now, as she raises up in the ranks, like you said, I mean, it's going to be harder and harder for her to accomplish that. But I mean, I don't see that much difference. I mean, look, stylistically, and maybe you could say some skill aspects, but I think that there's a similarity, I'd say, between her and Virna in that regard, where it's like Virna is. I'm 100% sticking with it. Virna is in that same spot where it's like she was also somebody who was a finisher earlier on, but it's like you get up to the top. I mean, when it comes to women's MMA, you know how this is. It's like the levels are like, it's such a steep drop off from the elite and then everything else. So it's like once you pass up into that elite territory, you're going to be fighting with the ones that can actually hang with you as opposed to this smattering of whatever you're going to get lower down. So I think that there are similarities there. Like, you got people like Virna who are now up there with the big show. I don't I mean, seeing her get finishes going on forward, I think it's going to be a little bit more rare. Can she win? Absolutely. I definitely think that Virna can win. We know that she can. Jillian, I'd like to see, because I mean, now she's going to be ranked number 9. And in top 10, I think that it's been a long time coming. I feel like she's been around for quite some time and sort of bubbling under the surface. And now she's showing that it's like, okay, it's time for her to break away from the pack a little bit and get into that elite territory. And look, I'll eat the words if I'm incorrect about her not being able to hang with the big dogs. But for right now, everything that I've been seeing, I mean, look, 12-6 to the asshole speaks for itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And that is a deadly technique, and she's willing to pull that shit out the bag. No pun intended. And she, I don't know. I think Jillian is definitely fine, but when I watch this performance, I'm just more let down by Marina that you let it get to that point. Jillian Roberts, there was actually somebody in the Discord, I forget who it was at this point, but they specifically said like Jillian, she doesn't stop trying to finish the fight kind of deal. So it is going to be a hard ask for a decision. And, did I think she was going to get the finish against somebody who I felt was decent enough? No, but she did end up doing it. And I think this lies more on Marina Rodriguez. She got in a fucked position and she had no answer for any of the grappling. And she is a striker, but like at this point in your career, if you can't handle just basic scrambles, like yeah, it's time to retire. So
No, you're absolutely right. It is unfortunate to see Rodriguez go out this way, but it did feel like she was already kind of 1 foot out the door. They were talking about it on commentary that her body language going into the break was really like deflated. I think is probably a good way to put it. She had the ninja choke attempt in the opening of the second, looked like it could have been the move, but Robertson was staying in control and thwarted it. Then right back to business, kicking ass on top after doing so for pretty much all of the first round too. When she gets full mount, dude, elbows, hammers. I mean, she's really like you said, she's tenacious and
mhm.
ferocious with those positions, which is why I like her a lot. In addition to her actively going for submissions and stuff, Rodriguez just didn't have anything in the tank, and so I really do think she was probably resigned to retiring already. It's what it seemed like. As soon as that fight was over, those gloves were off. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like there was any two thoughts in her mind about what was going to happen. So it is unfortunate that that's the circumstances there. Could it have been that way either way? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I really do believe in Jillian Robertson. So yeah, I think that it probably could have been that, even if Rodriguez had been trying at her full capacity. But if Rodriguez was ready to retire, as I always say, if they're thinking about it and it's in their mind, then the decision has pretty much already been made. So that's her prerogative. Congratulations to her on her career. And I did have in the notes that she said that she was going to auction off her gloves to aid her school, which I guess is having some type of financial issues. Her gym, that is. Somebody go out there and buy those gloves and help her gym out, because she seems like a solid individual and she's trying to help her team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. This one, this is one of the first, actually, the last fight I would say also. It felt like opposite day on this card. Anybody that you thought was going to get a TKO, they got a sub. Anybody you thought was going to get a sub or decision, they got a TKO. Anybody you thought was going to do anything other than decision, they just got a decision. So,
Yeah.
it was just this was a hurtful experience, even though I really was happy with the finish from Jillian. Like I was definitely like, oh yeah, fucking pound, get her fucking out of the ref was also letting Marina take it. She was done. Like, and the ref was just like, all right, come on, fight back, fight back. It's like, just call it, dude. Just
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. Well, you give them every and any shot that they could be making, but she was certainly not trying. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I guess then that's about it for that. I mean, a solid win for Robertson. She enters the top 10, and now she is going to be hanging with the big dogs for real, for real. So we'll see what she can do going forward, and who they match her up with now, I think is going to be very telling.
Hmm.
Whatever the decision is for that, it's going to be like, are they really going to throw her to the wolves, or are they going to try to ease her in a little bit farther?
Yeah, well, it's not a great look in my opinion if you're somebody who's trying to reach the top of the ranks and you get in your post-fight speech and you call out another person that you want to retire, you know.
Yeah,
uh,
that was slightly tasteless. I do agree. I mean, she
I wouldn't
shouldn't.
say tasteless. I mean, it's more like shouldn't you be, like, wanting the tough competition? Like, if you wanna be that bitch, like,
Oh,
you
I see
should
what
be
you mean.
calling out somebody that's not on the end of the career, and I make that notice because Angela Hill responded back like, "You declined the fucking fight with me, girl, so what are you talking about? You wanna retire people, but you're declining the people that you could be retiring," kinda deal. So if you want tough competition, you want to be the top of the top. You got to take scary matchups. Like you can't just be skating your way. You can't get another foot. Listen, we see it sometimes where people get those paths where they just face the old competition on their way out. Up. Joaquin Buckley is one of those people, and I don't think it's going to add up in the end because you're going to get the youthful competition that is supposed to be what you were facing in the out of prime people, and they're gonna be so much different than what you're expecting. I don't know, that's just my
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I agree. I mean, you should be aiming for the top. I mean, she was doing the whole belt thing, trying to say that she
belt
she
thing,
wants the
calling
belt.
out a pensioner, like,
I mean, well, if that's a person ahead of her in the rankings, then I guess it does make somewhat of sense. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there. I thought it was just tasteless a little bit that she had said anything about the retirement in general when Rodriguez was retiring. It's like, you you word that a little bit differently to show some respect to your opponent, who's you obviously just dominated. But either way,
actually, if you wanted I think it was a pretty well done, like, moment, like, at least in her mind, the execution is like, I got the karate hottie on commentary, I done sent her into the retirement home. Marina Rodriguez, get your ass out of here. Now we can get the other one that we're gonna retire. I just think at this point, if you're this high in the rankings, you gotta do that, like, 7 fights ago. Well, I don't know.
fair. Well, then again, I guess it's going to be very telling who they end up matching her up with because
If it's
either
Lamos, I mean, do I sit here and be like, "Oh, yeah, man, this is some title fucking contender coming." It's like, no, this is another easy win because she's a grappler, and Lamos has no fucking ability to stop a submission.
yeah, well, then at least she can shake the division up with that. I mean, maybe she will be the one to clean it out a little bit. Get these people out of here who really don't need to be there if that's the
True.
case.
Fair.
But look, the cap off is going to be whether or not she can actually do all of what she's saying anyway.
Mhm.
That's going to be the end of the road. So it's like either put up or shut up with these people, and then get yourself up to title contention and make it happen there. If you're really
Yeah.
about it like that, we'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, moving into this next fight, Ryan Loder, Azamet Bekoev. This was really not a great look for our dyslexic king, Mr. Ryan Loder.
I'm
What'd you
glad you
think?
bring that. Let's actually have a discussion first because when the fight started, Ryan Loder, dyslexic king, obviously. We know this from Tough. However, when the fight started and they talk about his education, this dude has a fucking master's degree.
Well, he overcame it. That's why he's such a champ. I
Brother,
mean, it's definitely not for
a
the
a
fight.
m a master's degree, like,
Yeah, well, you could be dyslexic and have a master's degree.
that's a lot of fucking school. Like, I don't know. I can tell you I struggle with dyslexia, and after 5 years to get an associate's, I was done, guys. It was hard. Like, I can't tell you to get a master's, that's like 25 years for me. Think about that. So if I'm sitting here and I'm supposed to look up to Ryan Loder, like, man, he suffers from what I got. Don't be fucking telling me that this dude's a doctor. Like, I'm not gonna
Shouldn't
fucking
you take some encouragement out of that you too could do that?
I can't. I attempted. I done tried, like,
Oh, come
so
on.
so I think it is just funny that that's, like, the story that they were painting on Tough is not the story that they're painting now. Like, if he woulda came into Tough and he's like, "Man, I struggled to get my master's degree, it was hard, but it took me a long." I didn't hear nothing about no damn master's degree, I'm telling you that right now. Maybe he
Well,
just
maybe he
completed.
did struggle. Maybe it was all, maybe he struggled and overcame the adversity.
Anyway, that's just something I wanna know.
Okay.
To also note, this is the first All-American wrestler against a former other promotion champ of the night.
Was
And yeah,
Bekoev who
L
was he champ of?
LFA,
Oh,
LFA.
okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
All right.
I had to double check it was LFA, but
Gotcha.
he was a f that was when he came in on short notice. It's like, "Yo, this he's a former champ, like, he doesn't have as much hype as, somebody that we'll talk about later on down the line, but coming in, you know, I is this dude gonna be able to hang with the big dogs?" Champ of another promotion doesn't necessarily add up. Okay, well, he smokes Zach Reese in 1 round, knocks him out unconscious pretty brutally. Then he comes in here and then an all-American wrestler. You know, we've been hearing the talks like, "Whoa, is the American wrestling dying out?" And here we are to watch the first of two American wrestlers get pummeled. Like this guy, Asmat, his nickname is like Iron or something like that. He do got some fucking iron in them hands, dude. It's crazy how light he can look like he's throwing, but it just like fucking rattles the shit. Like, dude, Ryan Loader took a couple clean shots and it was looking sketchy. I'll give him credit. He recovered very quickly after the initial flurry. You know, even Bisping's like, wow, Asmat done gassed himself out. You know, that was maybe one of the first dumb things that he said because they started to flip the Ryan Loader's out. He's got him now. He's got, and then he gets fucking dropped. And then the ref, after we got Ryan Loader hands down, face on the mat, we got to get a couple extra ones in there. We got to make sure he's done before we know that he's done. Even Asmat, he hit him once and he was like, you want me to keep going, dude? Like, and shout out to him. I do like this Asmat dude. He is really an entertaining person. I don't know if anybody in the chat has noticed, but our boy Asmat is now a new member of Twitter.
Hey.
He's actually had the account for a while, he says, but he's a new member because he didn't know Americans love it so much. I love the idea that he's just been on there just talking shit about everybody. If, you know, he's a cool dude. And I just think a performance like this adds to the aura. Like you come out here and you get a knockout. Yeah, you get on Twitter and you talk some shit for the first time. Fuck it. Like that's the shit I love to see. Enjoy the fish out of water element for the time being. So
Yeah, I've been seeing a couple of funny things coming through when it comes to Asmat as well. I like him too. I think he's got an okay personality. He seemed pretty cool in his post-fight interview there in the octagon. You know, gave some respect to his opponent as well, which I was like, you know, good sportsmanship too. So yeah, nothing not to like right now. And when you're getting freaking knockouts like this, it's easy to enjoy that as well. I mean, the thing here was that it's like going through the motions here, like Loader tries to initiate the takedown, but Bekoev is wise to it, reverses the clinch, and they eventually break. Then instead of staying on the hunt to get back to the wrestling, Loader stands, gets dropped, gets back up, and then gets pummeled some more. It was like, dude, where was the level change? Again, you already know that this was a bad situation that you were in. Now, granted, you know, he might have been dazed, he might have been rocked, but I would think that especially as an American wrestler, you would think that the instinct would be instantly to shoot, but
yeah.
he just didn't. I mean, and you're right. He's definitely a tough guy because he took a lot of heavy shots before he eventually fell completely. But the second drop, he'd had enough. He covers up, no attempt to fight back. I mean, it was really kind of a crazy looking deal there. I thought that his stand-up game was better than it is. Stick to the mats, my dude. Like that should be your default, is what I was thinking throughout all of this. Like I don't understand what this instinct to go against your strengths was.
Yeah, this is not the first of, you know, the of 2 that we'll talk about where panic shooting didn't seem to be an idea. And I know we normally hate that. It's like, "Oh my god, here he goes fucking shooting again." But like, bro, you're a wrestler. Like, I mean, can we be mad that you're trying to initiate the thing that you're good at? Probably not, but the fact that you didn't, like, you were in danger, my dude. Dive for a fucking leg. Like, this dude is clearly pummeling you. And I know it didn't work out for Zach Reese. He got taken down and pummeled too, but like, if that's your wheelhouse, like you should feel confident that I'm not going to get pummeled because I'm a wrestler. Like I can shoot and it may not work, but I'll get to the mat and maybe he'll have to, you know, back off a little bit. Then I can get to my feet and we can try again. I can just, you know, make something interesting. Don't just fucking stand in front of the dude who's literally nicknamed Iron Hands or some shit like that. Like this dude is crazy. His
Yeah,
nickname is Iron. Yes. Yeah.
there you
Asmat
go.
Iron Bekoff. Yeah. Just stand in front of the dude, Shama, the Shama fucking syndrome. You stand in front of the guy that you know is going to knock you out. I don't know.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And you know, I know that there's been some talks about the American wrestling, and we're going to talk about it in depth in a little bit here. This is probably going to be a lot of what I'm going to say, so I'll highlight it here. And shout out to Realize as always, but saying that American wrestling can be a great base, but you'd better be more well-rounded these days. And that is, I think, exactly the counter that I'll be saying in a couple minutes when we talk about the matchup where it makes sense.
I will bring it up now and then I'll bring it up later just so we can go back to it. I saw an incredible tweet. It was just some random person tweeting right after the matchup that we'll talk about later. And they said being the better wrestler but not the better striker and or grappler, just means you will decide where you lose in the fight. And I thought to myself, like, wow, like he might have just cooked on everything that I've ever thought. Like, yeah, you're gonna shoot and you get him to the mat, but if he can grapple, I mean, then you're cooked. If you don't want to shoot, you're just gonna get diced up on the feet. Like, I don't know. And from what I saw on this card, that dude fucking cooked. I should have followed him. Whoever it is, whoever wrote that line, you might as well be fucking Sir Isaac Newton at this point.
Oh,
So
there you go. Yeah, not too much else to say about this one. Really nice, solid knockout for Azamet Bekoev. I'm really looking forward to seeing him do it again, considering that he's now done it twice in a row over here. I didn't realize he was an LFA champion, so that's a nice little
might have
accomplishment.
even been two division also, something like that. It was something impressive. Like
All right, there you
he
go.
something like
Did he
that.
come in on short notice against Zachary Reese?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, okay, that's I now this is coming together. Yeah, this dude is a problem. This dude is a legitimate problem. So keep an eye out and remember the name. I'm enjoying watching what I'm seeing so far.
I mean, and it's actually crazy that somebody who he's not lending me as like when I look at him, I don't see somebody like Shara. Like I don't see somebody who's like creatively striking and making me go, wow, like wow. But like he's just going in there and throwing his hands. I mean, like you can't be mad at the dude who just wants to fight. Like he's just in there. He's there to end fights. He's gonna punch you. If you want to wrestle, he'll stuff the takedowns, and then we're gonna fucking pummel you some more. Like I can't be mad at a dude who just who just does what the fuck he wants. Like, I don't know. The fight was what he wanted it to be, and he won that fight. I
Yeah,
I love it.
10,000%. I agree. All right. Well, real quick, also shout out to Cooper Rowe. If you want to bring your question back when we're talking about next or this coming week's fights at 3:15, we will discuss that in a little bit later on in the stream.
And
But
subscribe if you haven't already, my guy.
absolutely, make sure that you do.
All
We
right.
are here every week doing this thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, next fight up on the docket: Misha Tate versus Yana Santos. Yes.
This is our featured prelim bout, and I want to bring this up because I think this is the moment. It was either after this fight between the break. They had a TV promo commercial and it said featured prelim bout, don't miss. And it's for fucking Marc Andre Barrieu and Bruno Silva. Like, why would that be on my screen? Who's marking the calendar for that one? Because when I look at featured prelims like this, it's like, why the fuck are you getting me hyped for a different one? They're all the fucking same. Like, I don't know. So
I I mean I do like that fight.
yeah,
So,
listen. I'm not saying I hate the fight. I hate the sentiment. Like, why are you telling me about the featured prelim bout? Like, I got to go to UFC Fight Pass to watch the shit. Like, I don't know. It just frustrated me. So this fight coming in, Yana Santos, Misha Tate. I thought this was cut and dry. I thought it was cut and dry for me going into it, and the way that it played out was exactly how I envisioned it. And let me explain something too. When I first saw Yana Santos fight last fight, that was the first time I ever saw her. I said, "Holy shit, this is a problem. If she's a prospect," and then I realized she's old, and I'm like,
right.
but the skill was there. So I think that was key for me going into it. You got to base your assumption off of what you've most recently seen from them. And Yana Santos was a good fucking fighter in the last time I saw her. And this one right here proved exactly why I know what I'm talking about sometimes, especially when it comes to the women prelims. Yana Santos came out here and did exactly what I thought she was going to do and did it so well that she won on all three judges' scorecard. I can't be mad.
Yeah, this was very much to me brute force versus strategic poise. And the strategic poise won out, most
Mhm.
definitely, because Misha started very strong, which I appreciate. As I say all the time, I really think that being first is very, very important in this sport. You could see the determination in her face as well, but Yana just navigated the early onslaught extremely well. Like, this is something that like you should really be taking women out there should be taking notes of how she navigated the early parts of this fight because Misha was coming out like she was hunting, like she was on the hunt for real. And she was like throwing everything that she had. She was going in like clinching real angry as well. It's like you could see like the ferocity in the way that she was conducting herself. And Yana stayed real calm, real cool, made sure that she didn't get herself in any positions that were super dangerous, was very nicely active on her feet to make sure that she was not in any danger spots, and just very impressive overall thereafter, because Misha ended up gassing herself out, I would say midway through the second round, and allowed Yana to stick and move pretty easily. So, this was like the exception to the rule, I would say, when it comes to like how you start a fight, because I do think that being first is very important, but you can't put so much out there that you don't have anything left in the tank if someone navigates the way that Yana did.
I think it was just a brutal matchup for Misha because, like you said, she was walking in there ready to make it a fight. Yana Santos, though, played the counter game very, very well. She chewed up the legs early, which Misha Tate was struggling with. She was limping off of the first couple too. Yana didn't really get back to it, as much as she should have in the later rounds, but like the damage was already done. So after she threw just like one or two in the later rounds, like she already was having her spin around ballerina, after she kicked her legs in. And and at that point, I was hoping, I was like, she's gonna be able to wear it down. Misha might be able to fold, but somebody like Misha, you can just tell, like she's just not gonna go down easy. And it was, like I said, hard matchup for her because she was battling the gas tank, her legs fucking hurt, and she was getting popped on the feet like just from anywhere. It didn't go her way in the wrestling. Yana Santos, the takedown defense was almost perfect for as what it was at the time. Because once, in my opinion, once it got to the mat, if it did, Misha Tate is going to have, a lot of success. And maybe even quick enough to get a finish if it gets, to the mat with, 2 minutes, a minute left, whatever you want to say.
She
And there
almost did
was,
have that.
yeah, exactly. There was one takedown where she got it and she got the control time from it like easily. And she was racking it up and she almost, was going to finish. Thankfully, it didn't because I think Yana Santos, once it got back to the feet, did exactly right back to the game plan that got you in the driver's seat. And this was just, I don't know, wasn't my favorite performance because I mean, it was just pretty standard. I saw what was happening and nothing was standing out as like amazing. It's just like, she's just on the outside beating her up.
Well, I think that the thing that was most impressive to me was just the execution on the skill set, because Yana has such a well-honed, well-developed skill set over the years that she's been active, and she's confident enough to not allow herself to get overwhelmed. So I think it's really just an overall impressive kind of package with her. She stays the course through all of the rough patches. You know, you do what you need to do when you're in the positions that are kind of dangerous, like we were saying that Misha had her kind of compromised in that third round, but was able to stay defensively sound and not let her cinch up anything that was going to be too dangerous. So it's like all of those things combined into just a really well-rounded fighter. It is a little unfortunate that she's a little bit on the later side. It almost reminds me a little bit of Nicholas Dalby in a way, because it's like she's just really, really solid, but she's a little bit late in the game. So it's like, what's the ceiling going to look like based on her fighting someone who's a lot. I mean, Misha herself is 38, so it's like, these are both older fighters in this sport. It's like, is she going to be able to stack up against like the young, hungry young guns coming up? That remains to be seen. But based on this type of fight with what she was getting back, I think it was really just a solid display all around and a definitely deserved win.
I think this is the first example that I can confidently say osmosis happened through marriage. This girl took Tiago Santos' kick and just adopted the brutality of him. Like she's really good at low kicks for just being just the a random girl on the division. Like, like she's nobody that you would be like, oh, Yana Santos. Like, yeah, yeah. Like talk about leg kicks. Like, dude, Misha Tate was getting tore up. And, she landed all of them. She didn't miss a single leg kick. So she was obviously setting them up where she couldn't see them. Misha Tate's stance was probably also not as, a good fucking style for defensive against low kicks. But Yana Santos, man, the leg kicks are what I'm saying. She can rip a fucking low kick. I'll tell you that.
Do you think that she got the PEDs through osmosis as well?
This is quite possible. We don't know how many times she's been tested. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I would not throw it out the window. I mean, they eat at the same table, guys. Like, come on.
I mean, I'm being a little facetious there, of course, but
I'm not. I'm not. No, like if you think about it, whoever's cooking, obviously they make the food together. You know, you would want to be on the if you're gonna eat like you're gonna eat like the fucking 230 fucking pound man, whatever. They're gonna have the same meal, the same little powders getting dumped in that shit. Whoever knows what's in it, pictograms or not. They're eating that shit together. Home style meal, you know, the table spins and they just eat out of each other's bowl. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Well, one thing on the other side, though, you're talking about stances and whatnot. Like Yana was throwing out like good jabs and stuff. I think that Misha was a little overconfident early in the fight. I mean, of course, all of the onslaught that she was putting out there would certainly lead that to that conclusion. But at the same time, I also think that like she was leaving her hands super low, and I don't remember like I've watched a lot of Misha Tate fights, but it's like I don't remember off the top of my head if like that's just always how she kind of like just has that air of confidence where it's like, yeah, go ahead and hit me kind of thing. But like that was certainly not the right way to conduct herself with this fight because like those low hands were just letting that jab just fly through time and
Mhm.
time again. It was just like no up top defense whatsoever.
Yeah, you know, and now that I think about how good Yana Santos is at low kicks, I'm unable to remember if she was actually ripping the body with these kicks or if she was ever actually setting up a high kick. Because if that's not the case, I think I would remember it, of course. But if that's not the case, I mean, uh, it's something that you should have developed earlier on in your career. I can't say get better now. I mean, this is just who you're going to be as a fighter. But if it were me, dude, the leg kicks are killer. You have, dude, a couple rips to the body, and that gas tank's getting shorter and shorter. That's all I'm saying.
True. So yeah, I mean, nice, solid, well-rounded performance for Giannis Santos. Gets the win, well deserved, and we're gonna have to see how many more Misha's got in the tank. I mean, after a
Yeah.
performance like that, where she really put a lot on the line and was unsuccessful, I would think that maybe she's possibly having that conversation in her head, possibly, but she was out for a very long time, did decide to come back, has been doing pretty decent in her return aside from this. So who knows? Maybe she's got a couple more. And as we have said before, the women's runway is a little bit longer, so she might stick around for a couple more.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. I mean, she's got the grit for it. It's not like she went out there and got finished and, cowering in her, fetal position, whatever you want to say. Like she was out there trying to win the fight. So
Yeah,
I
and
give I
fan
give her props
favorite
for
too.
that. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could
sure.
sell her for sure.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So good fight, but not as good as the next one coming up. This was the people's main event, as far as I'm concerned. Jeremy Stevens versus Mason Jones. Both fighters returning to the UFC. Of course, Jeremy Stevens coming off a title win in BKFC over Eddie Alvarez, and Mason Jones returning after his first run floundered. What did you think of this fight, sir?
Before I get into the fight, I would like to make a note that Jeremy Stevens has an insane amount of pull because he heard that they were going to his hometown and he said, "Well, fuck, I'm on the roster now."
Sign
Like,
me up.
yeah, like I mean, there was just no question about it. It's like, oh, we're going to Iowa. Well, Jeremy Stevens is, of course, still in the UFC somehow. Like,
Well, this
and
was actually, I'm glad that you say that because this was actually a debate we were having on the watch along about why Stevens came back at all based on the fact that he just won a title in BKFC. Because they were like, why would BKFC want him over in the UFC if he's a champion there now? And I was like, they're cool with each other. We know that Feldman over at BKFC and Dana have like conversations and stuff. So it's not like they're like rivals in any sense. I thought that it was a fine cross promotional thing, even in defeat for Stevens, because of how well he fought in this fight. I mean, granted, it wasn't a win for him, but he put it on the line, and I think people like his style. He's got a fan friendly style and a lot of power in his shots.
mhm. Yeah, this matchup, actually getting into the fight, this matchup was very good by the matchmakers, I will say, because when you first see this fight come up, you say, "Who the fuck is Mason Jones?" But, but when you watch the fight, you go, "That's who the fuck Mason Jones is," because this dude actually does have a pretty good skill set for what I saw. I mean, this is, kind of a one-off opportunity. Like, hey, you want to fight Jeremy Stevens in his hometown? Like, oh yeah, fuck it, sure. And to his credit, I mean, he went out there like it was any other fight. This wasn't somebody that was going to spook him because he's the BKFC champion. He, Hall of Famer in the UFC. That's another debate for another day. Um, Mason Jones really just came out here and fought a good fight. He was wearing the damage very early. His eyes were getting busted up. He had a couple lumps, But towards the end, I mean, after he started mixing in some elbows, splitting Jeremy Stevens open on the top of the head, busting his nose up a little bit, it was a very good performance for somebody who we probably wouldn't have want to strike with Jeremy Stevens. And
Yeah.
he did it just about as good as anybody ever will. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. I mean, I think that this one, much like the last fight, was, kind of one versus the other situation, where in this case it was power versus precision, and precision won out. Stevens is very powerful, but he's just too wild compared to the technical striking of Jones, and obviously then the grappling thereafter. Because it's like he puts great power on these shots, and he definitely had him busted up in a couple of different instances there. I mean, he was both of them were wearing it
yeah.
towards the end of the fight, but Jones just really has like this very solid core when it comes to his striking, and he mixes up the strikes so well. Like the variety of strikes was really really impressive. His jab was money, as Bisbing would say, but it wasn't just the jab. It was the body work really on point, and then of course following it up in that third round, the crowd might not have been super happy about it, but he was able to control on the ground and keep himself out of danger by doing so. And after all of the work in those first two rounds, what I say too is that it's unfortunate that this was a 30-27, because it really doesn't account for how well Stevens fought in this fight. Like the fight that he put up, it would not lend itself in any other fight, it seems like, or it feels like anyway, that like against a different opponent, this would be a completely different scorecard if it even would go to the cards.
Mhm.
It's just that Mason Jones really like technically proficient, and then tied him up enough in the third round to get all three of them.
This is a good example of, you may not know who they are, but work is being done because he came out the UFC and he got right to work. And we haven't seen him in a while, but when he came back, he was definitely ready to play. He was ready to use all the, using the knowledge, using the skills that he's picked up over time. And this is the opportunity that he has to showcase all of them. And he really did show a lot. Like you said, the grappling in the later rounds. Listen, I had Mason Jones by sub. I was really hoping that he was going to get one, because he didn't want to strike with Stevens anymore. And that was probably the wrong assessment because he wanted to strike with Stevens. He wanted to do that. But then at the end of the fight, going into the grappling game plan, and laying on him for the last of it, I think it was the wrong assessment for me to think Jeremy Stevens was so inexperienced that he'd just get subbed, because I think that is really what kept him alive in the ground sequences. Like Mason Jones probably would have got anybody else if they were not somebody who had 40 fucking pro fights or something like that. Getting choked out for Jeremy Stevens, like I've been not getting choked out my entire career and getting back to the feet kind of deal. So
Sure.
it was maybe bad on my part to believe that the sub could come, but I was very impressed with the striking. I mean, at that point, I really wanted Mason Jones to get a finish on the feet because he was standing with him and it was good.
Yeah, well, rare shout out to my book for having the special of Stevens by knockout or Jones by points, which I jumped on and made a tidy little sum from. So I appreciated that. But yeah, no, I mean, I thought that that was a great move. Like when I saw that as a special, because I was like, Stevens is a very, very tough dude who it's going to be extremely hard to finish one way or another. And Jones, it's like he if he gets knocked out, then that'll work. But Stevens is not going to submit him. So, and
Mhm.
if it had gone to points, I didn't think that I thought all of the dynamics of that made perfect sense to me. So, like, it really was a little bit of a no brainer to at least put a little on that. So I'm glad I jumped on that one, and then it turned out the way that it did. So, yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'd say as a negative of this fight, and it's really not either guy's fault so much, but it just is kind of it was what it was that in the third round, when Stevens was on his back, really fighting, when he had the hands locked, making sure that he wasn't going to get armbarred, that went on for quite some time, to the point that it was like something's got to give over here. So it was like it would have been nice for either Stevens to figure out something next, get to the next position, or for Jones to just be like, all right, I'm not going to be sitting here, tugging on an arm all night. Eventually it did. It just went on for quite some time. But either way, that's the only real negative, because those first two rounds, man, mouthpieces were flying on both sides.
Yeah, this fight, the fight was good. I want to give Mason Jones another piece of credit is he handled showing up to an opposing country well. He came in there and he knew that he was obviously not the fan favorite. I'm in the hometown of the dude I'm fighting. bring the fucking booze on. Let's fucking get it. Bring them on. Even after I fucking whoop them, give me one last boo, everybody. Just give me one. And I thought, as a character, he did well. He played his part well enough, and I think that is something to note that he's in tune with the vibe. So
He learned that from Zhang Min Yang.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, I was fine with all of that. And if this is the caliber of fighter that he is going to be going forward, then welcome back to the UFC, Mason Jones. I'm certainly down to watch him fight again.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and really, like I said about the cross promotion thing, like I don't feel like a performance like this, at least personally, like I don't think that this really drops Steven's stock all that much. I mean, he went out there. It would like if he had gotten knocked out in the first, minute of the fight, yeah, okay, that would be a little shitty for the champion of your organization. But he fought exactly as you expected him to fight, going back to the organization. I mean, like he went out and really laid it on the line. So I think that he takes a couple fans back to BKFC with him.
I could be mistaken, and I think I maybe misheard the announcement when they were saying this, but let me double check. Did fucking oh nope, it was true. Oh my gosh, Jeremy Stevens in his first UFC fight got subbed by Dean Thomas.
Yeah, that that does track. And Dean Thomas was beastly himself back in the day. Don't count the coach out.
I mean, it's not that I'm counting him out, it just isn't that a crazy timeline? Like, the
Yeah.
dude that's just the commentator for, like, the refs, like, he's just giving the extra insight, kinda deal. No, this dude, he just, like, whooped Jeremy Stevens, like, 12 years ago. Like, like, I don't know, it's just weird to think about.
And the sport works in mysterious ways a lot of times with this kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, we see these people who are fighting now. You always hear those kinds of stats where it's like Chase Hooper. When he was born, like such and such
Yeah,
person, is making their debut when he was being born, kind of thing. It's just the sport moves very fast and always a lot of different dynamics to it. And a lot of people
yeah,
fighting at different times of their lives and in different sets of circumstances. Thomas knew that he didn't want to stay in there much longer than he needed to and went over into a nice cushy career that he's got now. So
hell
smart.
yeah. Yeah. So that was definitely interesting, but, yeah,
Yeah.
this one shout out to Mason Jones. I can't tell you how incorrect I was to judge you based on the name that I did not know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Good job coming back and really putting on a show and making people not say, who the fuck is that guy about you?
Yeah,
You
literally.
know?
We actually talked about it on the stream. We said Jeremy Stevens missed a crazy marketable experience by just changing his nickname to "Who the fuck is that guy?" Like I don't get it. He could have just
Eh,
ran with it for his entire life.
he capitalized it in BKFC when he got the title and Connor came
True,
out and yelled at
true.
him,
He did. Yeah.
So I think again, the sports work in mysterious ways. Combat sports are all about it.
Bringing up Connor and the cross promotion,
Yeah.
element. This dude is still on the UFC roster, and he is also just the president of BKFC. So, are we surprised that there's cross promotion? Maybe Mike Perry makes his fucking comeback. Who knows?
ex- Anything can happen. It's a
Yeah,
wild sport for that exact reason. So, but yeah, no, great fight. And like I said, I think Stevens takes some fans back to BKFC with him. So I know I'll be tuning in.
hell yeah.
All right, moving on down. Cameron Smotherman versus Sergey Side. I know that Cameron Smotherman killed a whole lot of parlays for a whole lot of people who thought they were making the galaxy brain move by betting on him. What did you think of this fight, sir?
I just think that's totally key. It's like out of all the people that were dogs on this card, I can't tell you how many people said this is one of the better dogs right here.
Yep.
And I said to myself, you are batshit crazy. If you don't know who Sirius City is, and you don't know how this dude fights, and you don't know how much of a dog he is, how much heart that he brings into his fights, you are making the wrong fucking call here. Sirius City is an absolute warrior. I will say he loses points in my book because he didn't rip the up kick and the front kick as much as I used to see him doing. This one would have been the perfect fucking fight for it, in my opinion. But he did exactly what I needed him to do, get a convincing win. The fact that one round went to Smotherman is not what I would say, but the 30-27, hey, listen, I can't be too mad. I know you didn't get a finish, but Cameron Smotherman, he did pack a punch that made you think like, okay, he might be able to rock him. Because at certain times they did trade and Sirius City got hit and he would take a step back, but he was able to, recollect himself very quickly. The fight never was not like in his wheelhouse. He mixed in the takedowns very well, especially the moments that the takedowns came were very key because Smotherman had no answer for him because he wasn't ready for the shot. And Serious City timing him absolutely perfectly. I know he shot 12 of them, hey, but he only landed 5, shot 12, and he let it on the feet. So I don't see how he was going to lose this one. This one was just easy.
I think the issue that I have is that Sade doesn't scream power to me. I was thinking that Smotherman was going to be a little bit more dynamic in this fight and that he was going to have the power advantage. Now, Sade, one thing that Sade definitely does do well is he moves very well. He's one of these fast twitch kind of guys, very almost jittery, but like a controlled jitter, he's always in motion. I thought that Smotherman seemed a little flat in his movement, definitely in comparison to Sade.
Mhm.
Smotherman had some decent success in round one, really nice body shots. Then it seemed like he was discouraged by the takedowns and fought a little bit more cautiously throughout the rest of the fight. I think that was a big defining factor later on, and then still ended up getting taken down. So it was like, man, you're really doing yourself no favors by not putting that extra effort in when you have the opportunity to do so. But I don't know. There's just today. It's like he definitely goes out there to win fights for sure, but he just doesn't seem like the dude who's got like power shots to actually make finishes happen. The tenacity is there, the power isn't.
I can agree with you there, but I've never looked at him and thought this is the flash knockout killer. This is
Right.
somebody who's going to put it on you for 3 rounds. And if you're not the type that can withstand a beating for 3 rounds, I mean, you're going to fold late. And I think late finishes are going to start adding up for serious, before he gets to, very good competition, of course. But I think the style that he has with the skill set, if he uses it right and actually, the up kicks and the front kicks, he has long legs and he's very fucking quick when it comes to his kicks. If he utilizes them more and he's able to just incapacitate, he's got an opponent in front of him. If you mix it up well enough, and obviously you got the takedown advantage too. This was an experience thing. He knew Smotherman had never had to face somebody who's gonna just shoot on him, especially when he doesn't fucking expect it. It's not a wrestler where he's just gonna shoot in the open fucking, mat. Serious City experience and yeah, I think with the proper use of his skill set, late finishes can add up, but as of right now, I still think this was a great performance. The striking numbers don't really make it seem like this was a good fight, but I thought Serious City was leading it and doing everything that he needed to do to win. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely in the second two. I gave the first round to Smotherman, but I really think that like overall throughout the rest of the fight after the first round, Smotherman just didn't have enough drive as the
mhm.
fight progressed. Like he may be yet another fighter who only looks good when he's getting the fight that he wants, and that really concerns me about him because he definitely looked great against Jake Hadley. Now that you can say what you want to say about that competition there or whatever, and it was on short notice, so it kind of looked a little bit more impressive. But when you get full camp versus full camp with all of the preparation stuff ahead of time, and this is the performance that you end up with, I'm a little concerned that he might be one of those guys that it's like if the fight's not going as he expected it to go, then he just doesn't have the quick on his feet kind of answers to get himself into the next phase of what he needs to do in order to make it his fight.
So would you be saying that this is an experience thing or this is a coaching thing? Do you think he was coming into this not prepared for the fight? Because you said it was, like you said, full camp. This is the moment where you're supposed to showcase, like, okay, I'm in the UFC, full camp, make the cut. Now let's get in there and perform. And that's
I
just not what happened.
Yeah, I gotta believe that it's experience, because it really was. It more looked like he wasn't putting that effort forth, and I don't think that you can. I mean, you can coach it to an extent, like light the fire under his ass kind of thing, but it still has to come from within, right? I
Mhm.
mean, like it's got to be something that internally you say, okay, I feel like I'm down. Even if you thought you were up that first round, after the second round, it should have been like third round. Okay, whatever I've got left in the tank, because on the watch along, I think that was even literally what I was saying. I was like, dude, whatever you have in the tank left, you need to start throwing it right now, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it just didn't seem like he was there. Like, we reference Peyton Talbot a lot in different ways on this show. And like, I always come back to the note that you made about like the killer instinct and, being able to recognize if a fighter has that and like what the eye test is telling you with that. And like Smotherman, just the body language kind of seemed like maybe he needs a little bit more hunger in the belly.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
that's just something that has to come from the person itself.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I coming from on my point of view, I didn't think Smotherman was going to be able to utilize the skills that he has to win this fight. Serious City is more well-rounded, more experienced. I just thought this one was in the bag, and what I saw from Smotherman, I mean, I can't say I'm not I can't say I'm surprised. Like, I knew that I felt that he was gonna lose convincingly from, an all-around game plan. So moving forward, I mean, he's just gotta be able to use this one as a great film session. Like, what do I need to improve? This moment here, that moment there, round 2 and 3, where did it go wrong? And then that's where you need to start because 'cause you're still so young. Like, the things that I said about Yana Santos, they ain't never gonna click for her. She ain't ever gonna catch on to it type of deal. I mean, old dog, new tricks. You got a blank slate here. You've already taken a loss, and it wasn't like a brutal knockout. It was just one where you just didn't put the pieces together. So take some time, watch some film, and I think coming back, if you have a better idea of what you're gonna do to win the fight when the fight doesn't go your way, then you'll be better heading forward.
I agree 10,000%. I think that is an extremely accurate assessment, sir.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right. Well,
Accurate assessment's about to come into play right
oh,
here.
good Lord. All right, let's get into it. Montel Jackson versus Daniel Marcos. Well, go ahead, Chase. What do you got?
I think to start, I am not again, I'm not surprised at the way Daniel Marcos fought. I actually expected him to fight damn near exactly like this.
Like nothing?
However,
Like terrible?
ha- th- however, and yes, that's I do agree. That is what I've seen from him in the past, but he's been able to skate by with the judges with this type of game plan. And I thought that this was going to be another one where he maybe skated by if we got some bad judging. Because in my mind, the way that I was judging it compared to his other fights where he has won doing this, I was like, I mean, he's doing the same thing. He's nullifying a lot of the moves that Montel is, trying to advance with. Montel Jackson is supposed to be a dude who you can't stand with, and he's got some power in his hands. Marcos did get rocked a few times, but like from the moments that Daniel Marcus was taking it away from Montel Jackson, I was thinking, the judges are they're eating this shit up right now. That's the way that I was feeling. But I'm glad that it did not go that way. I'm glad the judging caught on, like, okay, we can't fucking reward this shit again.
I mean, I would have been insanely like it would have been mind-boggling if the judges had gone for Marcos in this fight, considering that he looked like he was stun locked for a lot of it, and then when he was letting his hands go, he was hitting big air. I mean,
Mhm.
this dude was swinging wild from distance and not getting anything. The thing is that as I had said about Juliana Miller, Montel Jackson also long limbs, long arms, long legs, and he likes to throw from range as well. He can connect occasionally at that distance. Wasn't doing a ton of it in this fight. A couple of times he was, but it wasn't like a consistent overall because of how much clinching there was, and there was so much clinching in this one. But like he would throw from distance and actually land a couple. Marcos kept the same amount of distance, wasn't trying to do a fast shuffle in or anything like that, and was just swinging and whoo, right across, nothing
Yeah.
doing. So I mean, it was like I was just watching this thing like, damn, is Marcos gonna initiate anything that's gonna work over here? And he did initiate some clinching, that's for sure. But I mean, I will give Marcos credit that he did some decent work getting Jackson to the ground, but there was nothing of substance done on the ground. So it's like, where's the value? I guess is what I would say to that. And then it's like this whole fight was kind of frustrating in that regard because finally in the third, Jackson lets his hands go to some like legitimate extent, and everyone's like, "Yes, finally!" And then he immediately goes into the clinch, and it's like, brother, come on, man. It's what I had said. I make this note too a lot, but it's like if 1 and 2 are there, then why don't you at least try for 3 and 4? Please just continue the combo. If you landed the first two and had him even relatively stung, go for the other two. I mean, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? He comes back and counters you, possibly. But I mean, like, I would take that risk with the way that this fight was going.
I think it's unfortunate because, like I said, Daniel Marcos did not surprise me with how mid of a performance that he put on. I think Montel Jackson, he just kind of proved in my mind that like you're just the run of the mill kind of guy. Like if this is a fight where if the dude's gonna stand in front of you, you're some so-called striker. I would have thought you would be able to at least put him on the mat, get it to a point where the ref is having to make a decision kind of deal. But in this fight, I didn't feel there was any threat. Even towards the end, yeah, Marcos got rocked a little bit, but like it was nothing to where I was like, "Oh, Montel Jackson's a fucking threat." Like this is a dude that got put up against an opponent whose best asset is just nothing. Like so, the fact that you weren't able to capitalize on any of those, even in the grappling, I mean, Daniel Marcos is not fucking Hamzat. Like he's not just manhandling bro around. Like he got him to the mat, but like Montel Jackson, you did your own control time too. So you wanted to wrestle with him too, my guy. Like you were supposed to be the dude that struck fear on the feet, and you had Daniel Marcos willing to stand with you, and we know he's not that good. So
Yeah, I mean, Jackson did almost have the Darce in the late in the third round. Like very late. He was almost towards the end of the fight had the Darce, but it just wasn't going anywhere. I mean, didn't end up being able to actually do anything with it. So it was like, all right. I mean, I'll give him a little bit of credit for the attempt and having the position, but again, I'm agreeing. There's really not much to say.
yeah, yeah, no, this one, I like I said, Daniel Marcos, I thought this was gonna be another one where he skated by, but we've talked about this before. When you're one of these fighters whose game plan it is to get to the decision and hopefully have the judges give it to you, it is not gonna last forever. You're gonna get that one person who's able to steal the rounds from you because you're not doing anything convincing enough to make the round yours. So that one moment that Montel Jackson throws up a Darce choke, well, he did. Fuck, he's doing the most in the round. I mean, you can't really say too much because Daniel Marcos doesn't do anything that's threatening. He does like I don't know. It's just I saw it going this way, but I was really believing the officiating, the judging was going to be fucked up. So
Yeah, well, glad it wasn't because
yeah,
this was very clearly a domination of sorts for Jackson. I mean, dominant is like hard
yeah.
to say considering the circumstances, but certainly the actions of the fight lend themselves to Jackson having won it. So I'm glad that they got the call right there. Actually, like I said, I think that the judging on this card was actually fairly solid. So,
This
yeah.
next one we'll talk about because I mean, we'll get into it after it. But anything left on this one?
No, no, that was about it. Really, there's not too much to say about the fight. Honestly, it was
Yeah.
kind of a meh fight overall.
Yeah, it sucks that they put this on the main card.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, the main card was a little scant to begin with, but,
Mhm. I'll
all right.
talk about being on the main card, we could talk about this guy
Oh,
again, but
certainly can. Yeah, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez. Both of these dudes are bulky, lumbering frames for welterweights, and it showed in this fight. But luckily, there was at least at least a satisfying conclusion, I would say.
I actually would like to bring up that note is I didn't realize it until I'm actually, like, breaking down the math. These dudes at welterweight are fucking huge.
Massive, both of them are.
Like
Yeah,
I'm, like, thinking, like, Leon Edwards versus this guy? Like
right.
what in the world? But so, coming into this fight, I obviously have been on the hate train of Santiago Ponzinibbio for a little bit because I don't get what the promotion is seeing in him. How many people in Argentina are really big fans of this guy? Because he is on the main card of any card that he steps foot on. He's either the co-main or 3 fights down, and that's just what the facts are for the past 3 fights that he's had. And every time it comes up, I question why is he in the main, in this slot? And then when the fight actually starts, I don't fucking see anybody that I don't see anything that makes me think this guy needs to be at the top of the fucking card. Like he definitely needs to be there. And then when you have those thoughts and you go into this fight and you have an opponent like Daniel Rodriguez, and you finally come around and you're like, Santiago could beat D-Rod. I mean, he's beaten people before, and D-Rod is not somebody that ain't like anybody else. So the fact that I came around to Ponzinibbio and the fight became what it was very upsetting to me. But at the time, going into the third round, my judgment was maybe 1-1. And you maybe have a different opinion, but I would like to bring up that the official scorecards had Daniel Rodriguez up on every single board. He was 10-9 every round up
Oh,
until
that's interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I would have had it 1-1 myself, actually. Yeah, I mean, breaking it down just a little bit here, and I think it speaks to kind of some of the stuff that you were mentioning as to why Ponzinibbio has a little bit of a favorite status with the organization, is that we saw him get rocked in the first round, got wobbled with a left hook and makes it to the horn. Now, I think one of the things that at least from some standpoint for the organization that they see as attractive about Ponzinibbio's style is that, or his abilities, I guess you should say, is that Ponzinibbio has taken heavy damage in fights and then come back to win. So I do think that there's some element of like, oh, it's cool to see a guy like go through the fire and then come out the other side with a win. That I'm speculating, of course, but that would at least be something, I guess, is like a draw of some sort. This was not the fight where that was going to happen. Round two, Ponzinibbio lands a couple of good shots, but D-Rod stayed patient and composed. He listened to his corner's advice. They said that on commentary, and I was
No,
already thinking that.
I'm glad you fucking brought it up. I
Uh-oh.
wanna I wanna talk about how big of a lie that is.
What?
They started out, they're like, 116, and Bisping's like, "Oh, they're telling him to throw the uppercut, jab, jab, uppercut." He didn't fucking throw now one uppercut after that. Like you're sitting here like the coach was fucking screaming, "He's dipping his head to the right, to the right." Not once did Daniel Rodriguez throw anything but jabs and meaty hooks. That's just my assessment. But continue.
Well, they could have been coding it to have him throw something different. I
You,
don't know.
you,
I
you, you
thought
know, hey, but if
perhaps.
Bisping's gonna come out here and act like he fucking knows, don't fucking lead me on the wrong fucking path. Anyway, continue.
No, well, I mean, I had heard some other stuff that they had been saying that he was following with. I mean, I can't nail it down off the
Yeah.
top of my head, but there was some stuff that I was like, okay, he's following the game plan is what it seemed like. It might have been some of the stuff that they were saying between rounds, but either way, I thought it was a composed performance, especially because both these guys, as we said, are so fucking huge for welterweight that it's like you kind of almost have to have a little bit more of a composure, I think, because you're not going to be a fast twitch guy. Like you're not going to have the ability to be like one of these dudes who's super light on their feet, and neither of them really are. So he eventually ends up stuffing the takedown attempts for except for the last one of that second round, but it's right at the clapper, so really it didn't do that much. But I still gave Ponzinibbio that second round, and then round three, D-Rod just lands a beautiful combo that puts Ponzinibbio into the twilight zone, and that was definitely some brutal footage thereafter when Ponzinibbio is out. But
One
all
of the
over,
funniest things.
oh
Yes.
my gosh, yes, yeah, we'll touch on it in just a second. But overall, my point of all of this was that had this not been Daniel Rodriguez doing the exact right thing and throwing that combo, which it sounds kind of crazy to say, right? Oh, he threw a combo. Wow, that's what a surprise. But it's like we've seen so many times fighters who just don't do the thing that's right for the circumstances that they're in at the moment, which I think this Ponzinibbio has kind of gotten by with a couple of times where he's allowed to get himself back into fights. He's able to overcome the adversity that he goes through and get these wins sometimes because some of the guys that he's been fighting just don't do the right thing in the right moment.
Mhm.
This was not that case.
Yeah.
Rodriguez actually did the right thing. We see the result of that.
It actually is pretty crazy. I think it is another case of the technicality versus just the unorthodox because Santiago Ponzinibbio is by no means a technical fighter. This dude, he's got his own drunken master kind of style. And you can tell every time he throws, he's way off balance and he's falling over and doing his own thing. And it's just like Daniel Rodriguez, yes, stuck exactly to the plan, get in his face and just box the bloody head off of him. I mean, even Daniel Rodriguez going into the later rounds, the midway through the second round, he was tired. Like bro's just walking him down flat footed. And you stick to the game plan long enough, especially when you're an unorthodox fighter, it can get you very far. But then there's gonna be the one technical ability that you just can't fucking get a grasp on. And Daniel Rodriguez was just able to spam the hooks. The jab was popping for him. I'll give him that. But the late round flurry where he just started spamming these little hooks and he just finally caught Santiago and folded him. And then, he gets up and he's mad at the ref for stopping it. He's falling across the fucking cage. Like, dude, it was one of the funniest things ever to watch him fall from where he got up mad to the other side of the cage. Like it was hilarious. And then also to point out when the fight was over and they're trying to get stand over here, stand over here. Like Santiago had no idea where the fuck to stand. Like the ref is like,
Oh yeah, no, he was in another dimension. It was definitely like funny, but in a sad way, I would say. Because yeah, Ponzinibbio throwing off the referee, stumbling to the fence, and jawing at whoever he was talking to a cage side.
Yeah.
No idea where he was or who he was talking to. And then the most classic one of them all, and Vitz King. Shout out to the Vitz King as always. He actually made a point because I had missed it on the watch along to back up where it was right before they cut to commercial, and it's Daniel Rodriguez shouting at the camera, in victory. He's got his victory secured now, and just Ponzinibbio just sailing across
Yes.
behind him was just it was so bad. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good win for D-Rod, and like I feel like Daniel Rodriguez has been like put into this category by a lot of people as like a dude who's just
A
not
shit
that
fighter.
guy. Yeah, like he's just kind of has this reputation as this guy who can't win fights or is just not that great or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, he's not. I wouldn't say that he's like going to ever be at the top of the division, but he can definitely win a fight, and he's got the power.
Mhm.
So, I mean, put some respect on his name. I don't know.
I can kind of agree. I can kind of agree with that. Daniel Rodriguez is not the culprit that I thought was going to be able to beat Santiago Ponzinibbio, but I knew somebody was going to be able to beat this dude. Like he
Sure.
didn't give me much faith, but it just sucks that I went against my true judgment. Like this dude's just not as good as I once thought. Well,
Yeah.
never thought, I guess is the better way to say it. Um the other thing that I want to point out, and I think this is might lead to a good topic of discussion. So at the end of the fight, Daniel Rodriguez is walking out the cage, and Brendan Fitzgerald, I believe, is the one, and he gets on there, and he's like, and just so you know, everybody, that I or the A that is underneath Daniel Rodriguez's eye, it's blah 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 blah." And I'm thinking in my mind, you only said this because everybody at home was questioning all fight if he had a teardrop tattoo, and why I think that is important to bring up this topic is because at the time, I was unsure. Had Daniel Rodriguez actually ever been to prison or jail? Because people have this assumption like he looks like a fucking jailbird. Like he literally looks like a prisoner or whatever you want to say. And maybe we just get a good look at him and that's the assumption we make. And I was very unsure if that was actually something that he went through in his past or whatever. So Ariel just had an interview with Daniel Rodriguez and they did bring up the topic, that he actually was in jail before and, did some time. And I thought that was, you know, put some respect on the hard upcomings for people who really don't have the best life and they're not gifted the silver spoon and they go through a lot of different things, but they still can come out and have like, you know, you don't think of Daniel Rodriguez when you hear him talk and you hear about the things that he does, like you don't think like, man, that's just a shit person. Like it's all about the fighter and everything that we see in cage. And another reason Daniel Rodriguez is just an interesting person. At the end of his fight, he makes a note that he was the one who made the song. He rapped, he made the vocals, he did it all, and he's got a rap career coming ahead of him. So I just
Oh,
hope you guys are staying tuned for whatever Daniel Rodriguez has putting out next. And I hope that you guys just stop thinking of him every time you see him and say, this dude looks like he's done hard time. Because he obviously he don't look like he's had the easiest life. None of the fighters really do. We'll talk about somebody who maybe did just in a little bit. But as of Daniel Rodriguez, like I don't know. He's not a person that I could genuinely hate. When it comes to the fighter in the cage, I don't think he's the best, but he does have the spirit of a fighter. So I will give him that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the massive amount of tattoos are certainly evocative of some feelings from people, perhaps. But I've never seen. I mean, granted, he did pop for PEDs, so I guess there's that one ding on the record a little bit there. But aside from that, I mean, I've never had any real like feeling about him one way or another when it comes to who he is as a person. I don't know
He's not
enough
like
about him.
Cedricus Dumas,
Well,
like it's not
yeah,
somebody that we could just be like, well, yeah, he's got fucking problems. Like
that's
this
a
is just
next
a
level
dude
person there.
who's he's just a genuine dude. He's just trying to live his life and he just happens to be a fighter.
Yeah. Yeah,
Rough pass.
absolutely. Then when I did hear that he, not only rapped his walkout song, but that he has an entire rap album and career, as you said, and he said, he's got a rap career, incoming. I said, "Man, now I've gotta listen to an entire album of Daniel Rodriguez." So, keep your eyes and ears on the Yama channel because, there are two things that I know from my past is, I watch a lot of fights and I do know rap. So I'm going to be listening to and reviewing anything that Rodriguez puts out. I actually, before the channel even started, and maybe I'll still have to go back and do this at some point, but I always wanted to review Bryce Mitchell's album because Bryce low key has some bars, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it. Certainly not now, based on everything that's happened with him since he released that album. But his album's actually not that bad. So, I will go into it as open minded as I do with any album, and I will give D Rod a fair shake when it comes to his music career.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're listening, Anthony Fantano, if you ever want to get on the show and do a collab and we can go over Mr. Daniel Rodriguez's rap album, we certainly can do that. You can give it certified diamond status or whatever they do on the boards. Whatever Anthony Fantano is able to do for Daniel Rodriguez's career, I'm really hoping that this is the moment we make it happen
There
because
you go.
there's plenty of more money in that than where we're at right now. So let's just do
Fair.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. So bring those bars out, Mr. Rodriguez, and we will critique.
All of that aside, I actually didn't even hear the song. Was it good? Like, was it a
Oh no,
good?
I didn't hear it either.
Okay,
Honestly, yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool, cool, cool.
Did they actually show the? I don't know if they showed
They
their
didn't. They
walkouts.
didn't show
Yeah,
a single fucking walkout. I'm glad you brought it up. Not a single walkout was shown, except I think the main event. I think Figgy and Corey had theirs. We'll talk about that. But yeah, the walkouts, we all just came back from commercial and they're just in the ring every time.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we didn't even get a taste of it, but maybe that'll be something that we research, and we'll have to see. We'll see what's up with his music.
I mean, it certainly is gonna lend to a good music video when you knock a dude out at the end. So
It couldn't be any worse than the rap career of Tyron Woodley.
yeah, that's probably true. I'm trying to think of some other ones who have had some music careers, but maybe there's just a small pool.
Well, we know Jeremy Stevens himself actually had a little
He did have a
dabble in
diss
rap.
track. He had a diss track against, fucking Joe Pyfer. If anybody out there is unaware that Jeremy Stevens wanted to get at Joe Pyfer any more than he already did at the press conference, he made an entire diss track about him.
And actually was not terrible with his flow. I gotta give the guy credit where credit is due. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, the bars were what they were, but he was not awful.
Hell yeah. So,
So
make sure you guys check out all of these aspiring and up and coming artists that we have in the UFC promotion right now, including Jeremy Stevens, so he may be around.
there, just keep an eye on the channel for when we review it.
Yeah, you could do that as well.
All right, let's move on to the co-main here. This is one that I know you've got a lot to say about. This is Bo Nickel versus Reinier de Ritter. Uh, yeah, I mean, have at it, Chase. You
No,
you,
no,
you
no,
already
no.
said a whole lot
Let's
on TikTok.
let's have you start by saying why Vitz wanted to thank me. What did I say that made him flip the script or something? Because you went to the chat and you were like, Vitz wanted to tell you that he loves you. So I was
Yeah,
like,
no, I mean, I think that it was more so me saying that you were correct in your assessment because basically what had happened for anybody who was not tuning in last week to this show had some technical difficulties. My internet cut out towards the end of the program, so when we were breaking down the fights for this card, I was not there right at the time we were talking about this very fight. So I had started to say I was tentatively going with Bo Nickel, but I was
lucky
going
you
to
cut out.
yeah, exactly. Lucky I cut out, but I had switched my opinion about it after some critical introspection there and talking to the chat on the watch along and whatnot. I kind of evolved my opinion there, and I was riding with Rainier, and it was the exact right call based on what we saw. Also wanted to bring, and that's all. Yeah, that's definitely why he just wanted to tell you he loved you because he
Oh,
loved you,
okay. Yeah. I
though.
love Vitz as well. We're all just.
But I did want to bring up that the organization I think knows the Bo hatred. That's why we got a little video package entering this fight. And also because Daniel Rodriguez's knockout as well, gave us a little bit more time. But we got a little video package for Rainier.
Yeah, dude, fuck the video package. The performance itself, I think, oh my god, actually, context. Coming into this fight, you see Bo in there and you're watching the promo video. Actually, we'll talk about the promo video. And you're sitting here and you're like, Bo gives you the vibe of somebody who just probably didn't have to work for a lot. Like, I know his wrestling career he did, but like when it comes to like real grit, growing up in a rough neighborhood, stuff like that,
Silver
probably
spoon.
he probably did not. I mean, going to a D1 school, you gotta be a little wealthy to to get that pool, I would say, or you got to be a very, very fucking good athlete. And he was. But going into this one, and you have a look of somebody that doesn't give you much hope that he's like got the grit for it. And that's the questions you have in your mind because this is the opportunity that Bo's supposed to prove everybody wrong. Like, yeah, I do have that I do have what you don't think I have because that's why I'm here at such, I'm 7-0. I'm in the UFC. I fought on UFC 300. Like, I'm not like you other guys. Like, I can't imagine I won't be a minus 1,000 if we fucking fought. Shit like that.
Sure.
Dude loves to fucking yap his fucking mouth. And then he comes into this fight, and I can't tell you a better way for us to have seen Bo Nickel, the hype train itself, to just, we got the life bar. If I wanted to make a video with the Minecraft sound every time he got hit with the like, dude, it was so perfect the way that he dismantled Bo. He didn't do it the way that I wanted because I would have thought watching Bo Nickel tap or get choked out would be legendary. But watching him take every single knee to the body, all these little body hooks, and you can see in Bo's face every time because it was actually so impressive for Renee to this was an experience thing as well. He knew this is going to be something that he's never had to go through. I'm going to fucking make it horrible for him. As soon as the fight started, we're on the feet and we get clinching and you see the knees rip there and you see Bo, he's taking every hit and he don't like it. And then you see him start covering up the body a little more. He gets hit in the face and he's just all over the place. It looked discomforting. Bo Nickel looked out of his element, and rightfully so. This is a two division champ for a former promotion that he was in. He came over. People were, questioning if that means anything at the highest level. And he has done nothing but prove you wrong in that aspect. And I will even say, Bo Nickel is on paper the skill set that Rene de Ritter has already faced are better than Bo Nickel. This was just them trying to sell us on Bo Nickel being something that he's not. He talked a big game. I will give him that. When people go in there and they're like, he uses his mouth to get these fights. This is exactly the scenario that I think of because there was no reason that Bo Nickel should have even been in this matchup or felt that he had the upper hand in this matchup because you just maybe don't know who Rene de Ritter is. But this dude is a fucking savage. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, so Rainier de Ritter might be the guy who is bucking what I had said on a couple of streams ago, where I was talking, we were talking about the Patricio Pitbull fight, and I was saying, I'm done with giving these guys coming in from other organizations the credit that I had been giving them because I had been, kind of saying, oh, in a lot of these fights where guys are coming over, it's like, well, look, they might not have been in the UFC, but it's like, surely not every single person that they were facing in their home organization could have been a can. I mean, like these dudes had to be putting in work to become a champion in another organization, bringing that skill set over to the UFC. Surely they're going to be able to show out in some capacity. And time again, we've been seeing that not be the case. But finally, we got Rainier de Ritter to actually make that so. And I appreciate this very much from him because, you should be living up to that reputation with what you just outlined there, being a two division champion in another promotion, that kind of stuff. And this is one championship we're talking about here. This is not, like a mom and pop shop. One championship graduates some amazing fighters. So,
mhm.
I mean, you got to like have the acumen to actually make that a reality in the UFC too. And Rainier de Ritter seems to have that. And I appreciate this very much from him. Also, one thing to note coming into the fight, De Ritter was massive compared to Bo. I was like, they're talking about how he wanted to put on bulk in any way that he could while still making the weight. And I was like, mission fucking accomplished, buddy, because this definitely not only gave him the size advantage, but it helped in thwarting Bo's early takedown attempts because he did try a couple of times there to get his own way, not doing it with the Rainier de Ritter. And when he was in those situations where they were locked up in the clinch, extremely impressive active clinch from Rainier de Ritter. Knees through a couple of times in the clinch, got very, very dicey for Bo, and then eventually, obviously, leading to what ended up taking him out.
Yeah, no, this was super impressive because not only did De Ritter show an incredible skill set that he is able to just implement, just whatever he sees fit. If that's the time he's got to do it, he's going to do it. And in this one, you could totally tell Bo Nickel, once he was uncomfortable with the clinch work and he was already on the back foot, and you could tell he was looking for his out kind of deal. Rene de Ritter knew there was nothing left more than Bo Nickel just trying to spam the Hail Mary. Went for those big old hooks that he loves to throw, knee right up the middle, right to the sternum, too. It was just perfectly placed, sat Bo down. In that moment, we talked about Ryan Loder. Where was the panic shooting? Like, where was you showing me that you wanted to stay in the fight? And I know, listen, them body shots, they shut you down. But like, you're a professional fighter, you're in the UFC, you wanted to be that guy. You were supposed to show me. And we have a lot of people, they talk about how much they want the belt. And then we have people who show you how much they want the belt. Rene de Ritter has been saying, I want to come be in the UFC and get the belt. And it's not just that he's telling you about it. He's active, he's finishing, and he's showing you exactly what he's capable of against who you deem is the best people for him. And at this point, you thought the best person to beat Rene de Ritter was Bo Nickel. I'm not surprised. I'm really not. And I think also I want to make a funny point. It was in like the first clinch sequence, when Bo Nickel flipped the position and you hear his fucking coach, knee him in the fucking thigh. And it's like, you fucking suck. You guys fucking suck. Holy shit. So it was pretty brutal to listen to that one. And the fight, it was easy to watch because in my mind, once I saw the first couple knees go up and he's ripping the body, Bo's not eating it well. Like, I could tell that the end was coming and it wasn't going to be a choke. Unfortunately, Rene de Ritter was out for blood. He had to show you, Bo Nickel is nothing to me,
Well,
and that
get
was
his
what he
name
did.
right. The dude is Rainier de Ritter.
It's Rene de Ritter, whatever,
He's gonna be
RDR.
mad. He want yeah, RDR, but yeah, so I mean, he was scrambling really nicely with those reverses that he ended up getting, Rainier. I mean, he had Bo on his back legitimately for the first time in the UFC, which was impressive. Obviously, that image was going all over the place viral, when, after the fight was over. Um, I thought that, he started to look tired, Bo did, in the second round, and it looked like everything that was leading up to the finishing sequence was like it was like snowballing. And
Mhm.
and that was, I think, one of the biggest indicators of basically what you've been getting at this whole time, where it's like Bo had not been tested in the way that Rainier was testing him in this fight, and it started to mount on him in a big way. And so when you said, not going for the level change, Bo did like, because basically what the finishing sequence, like how it worked out, was that they it was so in round two, Rainier stops the takedown attempt, but the knees were continuing on. And then Bo was looking tired at that point. Rainier lands some close range pepper shots. That's when they were up against the cage, just
Yeah.
kind of tapping, tapping, tapping. And then Bo disengages and he swings for the fences. Like, that I think was his version of it, but it should have been a level change. That's
Mhm.
that's where the difference lies. You're exactly right. This should have been an instinctual level change, as opposed to you trying to just overswing yourself and spin yourself around. He didn't end up spinning himself around, but he definitely overswang, and that's where the world ender knees for Rainier de Ritter started to go into effect. He got the one, and then it was the one right after that was the actual liver shot that shut him down altogether. So yeah, I mean, this showed all of the cracks that a lot of people thought were in Bo's game. There they were.
I actually would like to make a point too. Is like, when you look at Bo Nickel when he got in the cage, you don't see somebody who's like chiseled. Like, he's kind of a pudgy dude. So in my opinion, it looks as if, well, he's just been thinking he's got it. Like, he don't need to put in the extra work in the gym. He don't need to come out looking whatever, because he's got it in the fucking bag. And you want to talk about, the weight class, De Ritter is huge compared to Bo. Bo is kind of pudgy. You might as well just move the fuck down now, because if you get smoked like this, I mean, whatever. But I also
Yeah.
think you made a good note. Is like, this was the first time Bo was on his back. This was also the first time Bo started round two. This was also the first time Bo, got knocked. It's like, if you are in one fight and all of your firsts just get, it's like, I mean, did we like, I don't know. How do we expect better if all of the things that you were supposedly great at, like nobody could do against you, if one dude just shuts all that down?
Yeah.
Doesn't even need to be like a superior like grappler or a superior striker or a superior wrestler or somebody who's elite at what they do. It's just somebody who can do something decently at every level or whatever. And he was able to take so many of Bo's O's out of this. Like it was
No,
mm.
you're definitely right, and also the cracks are showing not only with this fight and this loss, but this is also, you must remember, coming off of the Paul Craig fight, which was one of the most bizarre fights in modern times,
Oh yeah,
really.
sorry, that went to decision. My bad. It wasn't his first time in round two. No, that fight, yeah, definitely forgettable. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, well, yeah, I was. It wasn't his first time in the second round, but I mean, just a strange overall fight in general, which already had a lot of people scratching their heads as to whether or not Bo really was the real deal. Anyway, a lot of people thought that that fight was too close to call for all the wrong reasons on both sides. Really, neither of them wanted to engage in that fight. So you've got a fight that was very wonky to say the least, and then you're coming into this fight with this conclusion. It's like now you're starting to mount some stuff that you don't want, for this hype train that you once were. Hype train derailed is a little bit of an understatement when this is what it's starting to look like.
I will actually point out something as well. Is De Ritter is one of these guys that has that unorthodox kind of Dreekus, style about him. But he actually looked very competent against Bo Nickel. So maybe that just shows you like I don't have to get crafty with Bo Nickel. Like I'm unorthodox, but like I don't even need to do all that shit. Let's just buy the books, just run through this dude. I don't even need to get spicy.
Yeah, well, and just take the fight to him. Take the
Yeah,
If you are confident enough in your ground game, then the feet should be your first option, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna just take this fight to him, and if it goes to the ground, I'll see what's up then. And
yeah.
that's, I think, exactly what Rainier did. I mean, like he's like, because when I was breaking it down, what I was saying on the watch along, it's like I think that Rainier de Ritter's striking is going to be better based on what I had seen in the Paul Craig fight, especially. And a knockout of Val Woodburn just doesn't do anything to move the needle.
Short
So
notice.
fair. And hey, he's a hometown guy for me too. So it's like, nothing but love for the guy. But I mean, all things considered, you know what I mean? So I wasn't thinking that Bo was some kind of world ender on the feet. And I think anybody would agree with that. So I was like,
Except him.
well, right, him aside. But so, having that as the baseline, I was like, okay, if De Ritter's going to have an advantage on the feet, then all he has to do is be good enough on the ground not to be into any kind of like terrible situations. And that's when the whole experience of being in another promotion and having championships over there comes into play. And I was like, all of these things are starting to add up to a way that makes sense to me. I'm going to Ritter. Right choice made. So
Yeah, dude, I just Bo Nickel had a lot of confidence in himself, and you shouldn't talk a big game because when it bites you in the ass, there's going to be plenty of footage of you saying the dumbest shit ever. It's like Bo Nickel once said that he could beat up three chimps at the same time. Brother, a human just manhandled you. And actually, so going back to the thing I said earlier about that genius on Twitter, he said, being the superior wrestler but being worse at striking and grappling just means you will decide where the fight loses. This was a good example. Bo Nickel tried to get it to the mat, just got out grappled. He just got laid on. And then when he got back to the feet, knees right up the middle. It was such a, I'm telling you guys, I can't tell you how beautiful a performance it was, especially against somebody that you just don't like too much.
I mean, and if you want to hear it portrayed in a different format, you can go over to Chase's TikTok and he'll tell it to you on there too. So
Yeah, and you made a good point. It's like, what glazing is there of Bo? It's like, are you not seeing it? You may not hear it. You may not hear people say, "Oh yeah, Bo's that guy." Like I think he's gonna do this or that. But like, bro, they are giving this dude the numbers as if he's fucking Ilya Taporia or something.
he was
Like
undefeated though. I mean, like now it's making sense now in hindsight, but you got to give the guy the shot that he's demanding of it based on the wins.
7 fucking wins in pro fucking MMA, and you're like co-main event against a two-time champ. I mean, that's pretty overvaluing Bo Nickel. I mean, going from making Paul Craig look competent on the feet to somebody who actually has skills everywhere, like it was a big ask, and to even have him at a minus 450, like Vegas was on this dude's tip, like bad. Like that's just the way that I see it. Because no way, in no way in my mind would I look at RDR and say, "Oh yeah, that dude, he needs a plus 500 tag." We'll get to it in a minute of somebody else like that, but like this one right here, a coin flip at best if you really believe in Bo, but overvaluing Bo at a minus 450 tag with 7 pro wins with nothing conclusive that makes you think he's going to be the next guy. They set Vegas set up everybody to lose on this one because I don't
Not the
know.
people who know, not the
Yeah,
people who picked him. So good
hey,
money made there.
listen, RDR by finish was a really fucking solid play. And I didn't really believe it because Bo can maybe get to decision like he did with Paul Craig. But no, I'm glad I went with finish on this. This was such a perfect hate watch. I'm telling you.
Well, there you go. And I did want to make note that I thought that not only was this a great performance for RDR, but I want to say that because rarely do I comment on this, but Rainier de Ritter calling out Sean Strickland possibly might be the smartest call out that I have ever heard. And I'll
Really.
tell you, absolutely.
Conor
Because
McGregor's not up there. Like calling out Conor McGregor's not the number one. Okay.
Yeah, just spamming the Connor call out, like, yeah, go for the Joaquin Buckley for
Yeah.
sure. No, this was like possibly the smartest call out that there is because first of all, Strickland coming off of the losses, that in and of itself, huge, ability to make that plausible off bat. Second of all, Strickland, even with the losses, still decently ranked, still up in the top of the division. Third of all, the style that DeRitter has compared to what Strickland brings to the table, I think that it is a perfect exposition of what Rainier DeRitter can do, like further on against somebody like Sean Strickland. Like I think that everything that Rainier showed in this fight is applicable to that fight. I think that yeah, it's I know that you say that but I'm telling you, like the style that Strickland has, where he's going to try to shell up and he's going to try to get those shots in like where he can, but he's going to be back off and he's going to do like all of what Strickland actually brings inside of the cage, which we know is completely incongruous to the shit he talks. All this we're going to go to war bullshit. We've seen what he's been doing at the highest level nowadays. I think that Strickland is prime pickings for Rainier de Ritter to take it wherever he wants to go and take his number.
I think that one's a difficult matchup for me to gauge right now because Sean Strickland, you guys must forget this dude is, I mean, as Rainier de Ritter laid out, he is the best American striker. Whatever you want
I
to say,
mean, okay,
whatever you want to say.
yeah,
If that's what he wants to sell, we'll go for it. But Sean Strickland did beat Israel Adesanya for 5 rounds. He did beat Paulo Costa, and he did them both the same way, where he just stood on the outside. Well, actually walked down Izzy, but he stood on the outside and he was playing the range perfectly and defending with expertise. I think asking RDR to make it a war with Strickland may be a tough ask because Strickland is very hard to track down and also has some decent takedown defense. But RDR is not somebody I will count out. So
I mean, is he on the beginning of his downslide? And Paulo Costa has always sucked. So
yes, I agree.
anyway, so yeah, no, I think that I think it's great. I hope that they book that fight.
Mhm,
I when I heard that, I was like, please make that fight because I would love to see it. I think it makes perfect sense. And we'll see. We will see what the actuality of it. Maybe I'll have to eat all of these words, but I think that Rainier de Ritter, if he fights anywhere near the same way that he fought here, he will be able to track down Sean Strickland.
mhm.
And whether he gets him down, that's a different story. We'll have to see.
Yeah, no, it is gonna be interesting. I RDR is pretty active, so I would say he will have a fight booked here soon for an upcoming card because he's trying to get his shit done. I mean, he's not here to take a fight and then, wait for somebody else to lap him and then go fight that. No, he's taking all the opportunities. You want to give him Bo? All right, he'll beat Bo. All right, now give me Strickland. I'll go from 13 to 2 right now. Like,
Right.
so I respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, nothing but praise for Rainier de Ritter and no more O for Bo.
Yeah, Bo Penny is definitely on his way to something special, but I don't know if it's good or bad.
I guess time will tell.
Mhm.
But let's
He'll
close
take a
this.
lot of time off now that you wanna he'll
Oh, you think
definitely
so?
he's gonna be gone for a fucking year now. I guarantee it.
All right. Well, again, time will tell on that aspect as well. But let's close this card out with the main event here: Corey Sandhagen versus Davison Figueiredo. Let me start this thing off by saying this: Davison Figueiredo may have lost this fight, no matter what the game plan he chose was. However, he was always going to lose this fight with this game plan that he chose. This
Mhm.
was a failure of strategy through and through, regardless of the unfortunate circumstances of the conclusion. Chase, your thoughts.
This fight, as whatever fight you want to call it. I mean, it ended way quicker. This technically wasn't even the main event. Last fight was the main event, in my opinion, because
Sure.
there was nothing that happened here except watching Figgy lay on his back for a round, which was pretty unfortunate that he wanted to go for the leg lock religiously. Like that's was his way of victory. It's like I just got to leg lock him. I just got a heel hook leg lock, and it didn't work. Come to find out, Corey Sandhagen does train with Ryan Hall, apparently. So
That's funny that you say that, because when I saw or heard, they had said it on commentary, and then I saw him in the corner, and I was like, oh well, that's only going to be much better for Sandhagen here, especially in the situations that we're looking at right now. You know.
yeah. Another thing that I will bring up, specifically about the injury, because there's nothing else to talk about. The injury itself, Figgy in the moment did not look like he was in danger. You know, Corey Sanhagen, for what you may believe, um, if you will, he would like you to think that this was a submission plan, that I enacted a submission plan. In my opinion, this was a move that Figgy 5 years ago would have just scrambled out of. I think the age is catching up to him and he's not as limber anymore. And the tweak on the knee, it wouldn't have done it a long time ago for him, because we've seen the dude scramble out of a lot of different things. You know, he's one of these dudes that scrambling is part of the thing that got him to his relevance. If I would like to believe that in his 38 years that he would get his foot caught so easily, like, oh, I know my knee's gonna pop if I don't get it out of here. I just don't believe that. So Corey Sandhagen making it seem like this was some fucking plan of his, like, oh yeah, I knew I was gonna pop his knee right there. I don't know if I believe that necessarily. It does look like it hurt. I'll give you that. But I think Davison would have slid out of it 5 years ago.
I mean, hard to say on that one. The position was like Corey actually said. I mean, the same thing did happen uh, to TJ Dillashaw as well. So it is a dangerous game that you're playing when you're in the positions that they were in and the type of scrambling they were doing. Your leg gets caught one place, you overextend a little bit. Those kinds of things do happen. Chalk it up to freak injury. I agree with you though too. Yeah, there was no like setup for that. It was just part of what happened in the course of the action. But yeah, hard to say. Either way though, I mean, yes, it's an unfortunate thing that the knee popped. That is very bad, and who knows what the rest of his career is going to be like now, because that can be pretty devastating. We see guys who are out for quite some time with injuries like that. But either which way though, I mean, this was such a poor strategy leading up to this incident that it was just like icing on the cake is not the right term, but like it was just like the cherry on top of the shit sundae, I guess is what I would say. You know what I mean? Because it's like he was getting himself into these heel hook positions that he was attempting, not getting them at all. And what did he get instead? Punched in the face a lot.
Mhm.
It reminded me a little bit. Do you remember when we were talking about Damon Blackshear versus Alan Tangale recently? I had said in that fight that maybe he's trying to prove a point. And like that's kind of what I was thinking here, because why he thought wrestling against Sandhagen, who is a great wrestler and grappler, was the move to make. I mean, he went toe to toe with Umar in the wrestling and grappling department. The issue in the Umar fight was that he did not enact any offense to push the needle forward for himself. But if you recall, he was scrambling out of everything that Umar did. This dude is really decent when it comes to these scrambles and getting himself out of danger on the ground. So why you would try to prove a point in this way makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And then to not deviate from the game plan once you were getting dominated in the first round. That, I mean, Bisping said, oh, that's a 10-8 round easy. It's like, yeah, you fucking think? I mean, like, he didn't do any.
It
I
wasn't.
think I
Anyway,
lo
this was another moment I was gonna call Bisping stupid,
all
but
right, well,
if you
look,
wanna agree with him, I'll let it slide.
I would let it I'd 10-8 aside, whatever. It was a dominant first round.
Yeah.
You got fucked up when you were going for heel hooks. That's all you need to know is fuck the scoring. You got fucked up when you're going for heel hooks. So what do? Do you go back for heel hooks again? Is that the move?
Yeah.
I would say
It
no.
it was definitely a hard performance to watch because, coming into this, Davis and Figueiredo at +400, I would never pass up on this, especially against somebody who hasn't sold me. Me personally have watching Corey Sandhagen, I have not been sold that he's the one that can just, you know, be the top of the division. When I saw with Umar, is he decided to sit in his lap for 5 rounds. And that was hard to see because out of all the talk that Corey Sandhagen did, like I'm gonna be the one to, break the fucking Nurmagomedov way. Like I got the answer, like I know how to do it. And then he just doesn't fucking do it, you know.
But I mean, he did do it. He just didn't do enough thereafter, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because
I
he didn't get himself in any submission situations.
I can agree with you there, but he also did lose the fight very convincing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a hard one for me to go into this and say -600. I'm taking Corey Sandhagen, and it's unfortunate. Actually, I want to make another point. Davis and Figueiredo had the same look in his eyes when he went to the corner after the first round that he did against Peter Yan. Is you could see in his eyes that like the moment is slipping away. Like that was supposed to be the first round finish. I was supposed to heel hook him. Like now I'm fucked. Like that was when you watch against Peter Yan after 4 rounds of domination. Figueiredo is just like he's just broken. You can see like the tears in his eyes forming. Like I was supposed to come get this belt again. Like this was my destiny kind of deal. And in this moment after the first round, you can see in his eyes like just that little moment of just doubt. And then you get into the second round of scrambling and it just doesn't go his way. And as an older fighter, and this is probably an ACL, MCL, or injury kind of deal, he's going to be out for longer than need be for how quick he needs to make up the ground at bantamweight. If he's dead set on trying to be a champion, I don't think it's any more plausible. I think the most we're going to get out of him is a couple more matchups at 39 or 40. But I was really hoping Figueiredo was going to figure Corey out on this one because Figueiredo is one of these dudes that, he dropped Peter Yan in round 4. He dropped Cheeto for the first time in his career in round 5. It's like I can never count on a dude who's just packing a nuke in his hand. And at the and when you watch the promo videos, Figueiredo said, "I'm gonna make him run around for 5 rounds and then I'm until I knock him out." Where the fuck was that, man?
Yeah,
So
that was non-existent. Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't see the state of Figueiredo, like his body language that you were talking about between rounds, because I think I was so fixated on the fact that his corner forgot his stool. I don't know if you picked up on that.
And I was actually gonna bring up that point. If you like in the corner, you watch him, he's like, all dejected, looking off in the crowd. You can see the water forming. He's not looking at his coach. Did not notice they didn't give him a stool.
Well,
Maybe that was part of it.
that was the funny part, is that they said, "Oh, we're gonna go listen into his corner," and the first thing that we get from the translation is stool. Where's the
Yeah,
stool? What
yeah,
happened to the stool? But,
nice.
yeah, no, I mean, this was just like, we talked about Cameron Smotherman, whether or not it was, inexperience versus coaching here. I mean, I like, this is obviously completely different circumstances, but was it Figueiredo or his coaching that led him to this game plan? That I have no clue about. I don't know if this is something that they game planned themselves beforehand, or if this is something that he went into business on his own with. But either way, this was just a very poor navigation of this fight, especially when you already had the data from round 1 to show you that you were not on the right path. So, round 2, one good shot from Figueiredo after really no shots at all in the first round. Got the one good shot off, gets taken down. Oh, he got the takedown himself, actually. He had the one good takedown in the first round, too. I will give him credit for that. But the takedown in the second round, he gets it. Corey turns a heel hook of his own into top control. I thought that was very telling in and of itself. Before the knee pop, it's like, if he could do that when he's going for something that you're trying to do, you know what I mean? If this is the chess that he's doing, then you're going to get checkmated very quickly in a couple more moves here, pal. So like, you really don't want to keep going down this path. Then of course the knee pop happened, and it really, like I said, it could have gone that way one way or another without the knee popping, but it didn't have to be this fight.
Yeah. I also will note that I want to give some praise to Corey because I was definitely running with the fact that this dude is one of the most nerdy looking fighters that we have. And that if Cheeto and Peter Yan are going to get sat on their butt by a straight right from Figgy, no way is Corey going to be able to eat anything like that. There was one shot that Figgy landed that was clean as can be right on Corey, and he ate it for fucking breakfast. So I was like, "Yeah, we're done, boys." I mean, if he ate that, I mean, I can't expect anything else, you know?
Yep. Yep, absolutely. That was the one in the second round I was talking about. Yeah, this was just an all-out domination. Injury aside, Figueiredo pays the price for playing a ridiculously dangerous game, and he didn't have to play it. So really, because both I was here on the last show for this fight, and we both were saying him at that price tag was like, wow, that's too good to pass up. Now you know why.
Yeah. Dude, this one here, it's hard for me to say what's next for Corey because I know he gets on the mic and he wants to act like he's all big and bad and it's now title shot time. But like, brother, Peter Yan's still waiting for an opponent, and he even called you out. Which I want to bring up another point is people online seem to be speculating that Peter Yan has been in camp for Marcus McGee. Doesn't seem to be the fucking case. I don't know who lied about that, but Peter Yan wants the fucking rematch with Corey. So Corey, step up onto the fucking plate, and if you want to get this shit done on full camp, because that was your note the first time, is that it was on short notice in the opposing, arena, whatever. Prove yourself, because you're one of these people that, in my eyes, what I've seen, and what I've understood is that once you get to a certain level, you're not beating those guys.
Right.
And Figgy was, in my opinion, that level, but then it also ended in injury. So I can't really say like, oh, this was the definitive win for him. That like, okay, he needs something more. It's like, no, I like you. Bro, you just lost to Umar. You've already lost to Peter. You did, Suga is probably on the list for you to fight if he wins the belt back. But you're not getting Marab yet. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. He wants to make the claim, I'm the only person that hasn't fought Marab in the top five. It's like, brother, but you also haven't beat the other people in the top five. So
Yeah.
how
No,
you gotta have some level head here.
No, I agree completely. I think that that is the exact point here is that Corey has gotten close to greatness, but has not achieved it. And that's the only next step is that
Yeah.
you need to now go out there and actually make it happen against the people that are in front of you. Because if you don't do that, then you're always going to be the dude who he said that he did not want to be, which is the guy that gets close to winning but doesn't win. And this is the time now. You've gotten this win that was, I mean, circumstances aside, this is an impressive win, impressive performance leading up to the injury, all that kind of stuff. Like this was exactly what you needed to get you well seated again after the Umar loss. You're in perfect position to get yourself back into that conversation, but you do have to get yourself back into the conversation.
Yeah, I said it before. It's like there's people who will tell you that they want to be the champ, and then there's people who will show you that they want to be the champ. Coming off of an injury victory and calling for the belt. I mean, brother, you don't get the easy fucking route if you want to be the champ. You go through who's necessary to beat to get the belt. You don't call out for the belt after you get an injury stoppage. Like Tatsuro Taira didn't fucking do his shit like that, and he beat the seventh ranked dude or whatever it was. He didn't say, "All right, I'm next for the belt. I ain't fought for it yet." Like, no, you go fight the dude who you think is deserving. If you think it's yourself, reevaluate because you just came off of an injury win. That doesn't. Nobody's saying title shot. That's title shot right there. You just. I'm sorry, Corey, but it's gonna have to be another one. Like, you just gotta, dude, fight more. Like the last time he fought was in August, so fight more and lap people. If you want to be that guy, you just got an injury victory. So you really didn't take too much damage. You didn't take too much time out of your hands. Hop back in camp, get the next fight going. If you really want to be about it, I'm telling you, take the Peter Yan matchup. If you think that you are the championship level, that's the guy you got to beat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, whether it's him or anybody else above, but it has to be somebody that is elite.
Yes.
Because right now you're hovering at greatness, but you ain't there yet.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
So yeah, well, and there you go. I guess that rounds out UFC Fight Night Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. Final thoughts there, Chase.
I knew this was a cursed card, and after the fights, I did not, think differently. This one, one of the main reasons that this was cursed, and I actually wanted to bring it up, is like one of these type of finishes just fuck everybody on the books because nobody in hell put Corey Sandhagen KO TKO. Like it was
Right.
just never in the books, but the fact it goes down under that, nobody wins. Everybody wanted decision. Everybody thought a sub or something would come, but a TKO victory for Corey Sandhagen just shows the cherry on top of this fucking card. Like this one, it was kind of hard. Like especially after that, it just brings the whole night down. So
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. Bet the money line, people. Bet the money
shh,
line.
not that
Um,
minus 600 people. Don't
Yeah,
do that.
all right. Well, we would have won. But anyway, yeah, no, again, this is one that was up and down, I would say. There were a lot of points in this card where it was a little bit sleepy. It was not exactly the most fun rewatches that I've ever had to do for one of these episodes that we do, but overall, there were a couple of decent standouts. I would still put this on the lower end of fight nights. Is almost maybe like glorified Apex to an extent. And we've seen even better in the Apex. But either way, it wasn't the worst I have ever seen. So it's on the lower end, but not the worst.
On the note, since you brought up the Apex, I didn't bring it up earlier, but one of the funnier tweets that Asmat Bekov had is somebody asked him, "Where would you want to perform most?" And he said, "In the Apex." So
What a G. I
yeah,
love this guy.
yeah, he's great. So shout out to him.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Well, let's move on over to the upcoming fights. Actually, I did you wanted to talk about the BSD replacement real quick?
Yeah, we can mention it. BSD and Joel Alvarez is now officially off. Joel Alvarez is injured, quote unquote, apparently just going to move up weights. Also, that's part of it too. He's just injured and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm not going to do that weight anymore."
All right.
So they found a replacement, and when I say found, I mean they definitely pulled the fucking rabbit out the hat on this one because they signed a guy who hasn't fought in the UFC since like 2018 or something like that, and his name is beyond me, but BSD couldn't have picked an easier fucking way to get back in the win column. Because on Twitter, you will also hear that Mateus Gamrot was willing to step up and fight BSD on short notice, and BSD declined. Yes,
Yeah.
Kyle Prepelic.
Yeah, Kyle Prepelic is a fighter who has been around for a very long time. He's kind of floated around between a number of different promotions, was in the UFC, did not do great there, and has kind of had a candy cane career throughout all of the promotions that he's been in, getting this short notice. Well, not really short notice,
It's
but
2 weeks.
yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, short enough. Getting a short notice call up against Benoit Saint Denis. This is basically feeding a lamb to a wolf. The fact that Kyle Prepelic has been around for this long in the sport of MMA and he is not a name that 99% of fans would remember speaks volumes in and of itself. So the fact that they are feeding him to Benoit Saint Denis is probably going to be a minus
1500.
3,000.
It's minus 1500.
A
Yep.
minus take the minus 1,500 then, because that's better money than I was thinking it was gonna be. I would have thought it would be more in the, like, minus 18 range. But, and even that is like, that's wild. Minus 2,000 is probably something that somebody would think is okay for this fight. I mean, this is just insanity that this is the fight that has been made.
No, this
Yeah.
this actually upsets me. Like
Yeah.
when it comes to matchmaking, I normally think, okay, there's a reason why some of these people are matched up. On paper you can make a case, but there's just no damn reason that this dude's name came up. It just does not fucking make sense. BSD. I mean, if you dead ass had some pull in who you were gonna fight, if you did not want to fight Gamrot, if that's the actual truth, if there was nobody else that was willing to step up, quote unquote, I just don't buy it. Like this one is just horrible. Horrible on the promotion for trying to slide this one in on us and just like play it off like it's cool, like this is
Yeah.
normal.
For allowing it if Gamrot was on the table. I mean, what possible, like, reasoning could there have been for that not to be made?
And that's my thing too, is like since so you just can just not fight anybody. Like you can just say, "Well, no, I don't want to fucking fight him." Like you can just do that. Like in my opinion, you are scheduled for the main event. They find your opponent. I mean, I know that's what happened here, but if Gamrot was on the table and he says yes, how is that not the move? How is that not what you throw in? It's like BSD. If you are declining it, main event, I know you want it, but like
Well, this isn't the main event though. This is co-main, right? This is
You
for
might
315. This is no, yeah.
hold on,
Am I
hold on.
wrong?
No, this 315's this week.
Yeah, this week. So I mean, Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della is the main event.
Oh, this is on this card. Holy shit. No, this is okay. This is on 1 week notice. Wow, I thought this was for next week. Wow. Yeah, this is horrible. This is still horrible.
Yeah, it's just a crazy
He's
switch
Canadian.
up.
That's why. That's why.
Oh, well, great. But I mean, compared to the fight that we were going to get versus the fight that we are getting now, I mean, it's just insane to think that this is the trade-off. I mean, get ready for the BSD show. I mean, Benoit Saint Denis is about to come out here and just walk through this dude.
There's only let me maybe voice some opinions. If BSD comes out here and mops him, I'm very upset. I'm very upset that this is what you made us sit through because I want to see what BSD's made. This is the God of War. This is not,
Who
hey,
just got
let's get
taken out by Renato Moicano.
like whatever you want to say, like this is a dude that people actually had hope for. So
Sure.
the fact that you're giving him a layup, it doesn't make me root for him anymore. Like, I don't know. And then if he also doesn't mop this dude, then he's been a fraud all along. Like, then we know for a fact, like, okay, that's what the worst part is. It's like, I'm gonna be mad either way. Double-edged sword here. BSD mops him. Why was this match made? If BSD fucking sucks and this dude is actually competitive against him, wow, were we overestimating what BSD is made of? And I'm gonna be upset that we thought that this dude was like next up kind of deal.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll at least be competitive, but that'll
A
be
35-year-old, like, on short notice, 1 week, like, get the fuck out of here, man.
yeah, it's a crazy turn of events. So just wanted to make mention of that before we moved on to the rest of this card. This is UFC 315, Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. Um, Real quick before we get into it, did want to give a shout out to David Burns saying hello to you, sir, and we shouted you out a little bit earlier in the episode. So go back and listen to the rest of it for your call out there.
Yeah, realize. Shout out to you as well, my
Oh,
man.
hell yeah. Always realize. Appreciate you, brother. But yeah, so all right, Bilal versus Jack Della. What are you thinking, man? I mean, is it just going to be the Bilal Muhammad show that we know and love? Or, I mean, depending on how you feel about that, the Bilal Muhammad show that we are all used to at this point?
Um, no, I would like to believe
Ah,
it's not.
okay.
Vegas may be right about a lot of things, but when it comes to Bilal Muhammad, this is not somebody that I would willingly say, like, this is a guy that I'll put money on because he may be able to do what he does well, but he's also 36. And, Leon did get the better of him kind of towards the end of the fight. Jack Della, we are still yet to behold just how good he is. We could be very surprised in this matchup just how good his takedown defense is. Maybe he does sub him. Maybe, we know he's a killer on the feet. And if Bilal Muhammad has Canelo fucking boxing, whatever you want to say, then Jack Della's dude. This dude's fucking god. But I don't know. This one's hard for me, but I am gonna go with Jack Della. I would not willingly say Bilal is gonna win this one.
I think you are out of your mind, sir. I think that this is going to be the exact same thing that we have seen from Bilal time and time again. I think that the style that he has is tried and true at this point. It's not fan friendly. It's not what a lot of people want to see, but it is effective and it wins fights. Jack Della is somebody that I have always been skeptical of, and maybe that's just on me. I'm really not a hater. People want to like get that impression of me when I voice my skepticism. It's not. I have nothing against Jack Della. It's just that I've seen him in fights that have been more competitive than I thought that they should be. Now, I mean, the one that springs to mind off the bat is the Kevin Holland fight. I thought that was way too close for what it ended up being. I mean, like there was potential for that to have even possibly been a robbery. I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but that's the first one that jumps out. But then also, we go back to the Gilbert Burns fight. Now, granted, yes, he annihilated Gilbert at the end of that fight, but it was a lot closer than it needed to be up before then. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I see like I see an unpolished diamond there, perhaps. Now, Dricus disproves all of this. I mean, Dricus has a style that a lot of people said, oh, it's there's no skill there, this and that. Like, it's not something that can actually win fights at the highest level. He has disproved all that. Perhaps Jack Della can do the same thing. But to me, I mean, I'm going off of the empirical data here, and Bilal Muhammad has been doing his thing consistently for almost, I mean, 24-3. I mean, the dude is about as consistent as they come. Are they boring? That's up to you to decide, but do they win? The answer is clear.
I bring up this term a lot on the stream, and I talk about killers versus fillers. And fillers could mean you could be a card filler or you could be a stat sheet filler. Bilal Muhammad is one of those dudes that's going to fill the stat sheet. He's going to rack up the necessary points that would get him to the judges' win. Jack Della, though, he might be a fucking killer, guys. And this is some dude you can't count out for that reason. You saw with Gilbert Burns. Everybody in their right mind thought, well, Gilbert's coasted a decision on this one. He won this. And then, boom, in just a split second, one knee puts Gilbert Burns on his back. Jack Della doesn't let up, finishes the fight. When you go back to Bilal and you go with Leon, Leon did turn the tables a little bit towards the end and he did bust him up. And he was on top control, raining some elbows, and then the round ended. Whatever. Will Jack Della wait that long to be able to showcase the killer instinct? I don't know, but I do know that it is there. Like when you see him fight, like he's just got something to him. Like there's just a little tenacity to him that he can just make it dirty. I know people want to talk about the Hafez fight with JDM and that, it shouldn't have been that close. He went to decision, whatever you want to say, but there's a moment in that fight where Jack Della just grabs the wrist of Hafez, and then he just starts wailing on him. And I'm just like, dude, fuck the rule, fuck the standards. Just fucking beat him up. Like if you got to grab his hand so he can't block, and then you just wail on him, that's the way it's got to be. And in that moment, it was just the subtle difference. Is like somebody else would have just clinched and threw some knees to the thighs. Jack Della said, fuck it. We're just going to rain punches down. I don't care if you're up against the cage. We're ripping the body. We're going up top. Dude, Jack's just, I'm telling you, there's something a little different about him.
I am certainly open to that being a reality. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm not a hater. Like I really
Yeah.
do think that there is a lot of good there. I just need to see the entire package come together in championship form,
Hmm.
and that's where this is the opportunity he has to prove that right here, right now. So if that happens, all credit to him, and I will certainly change my tune on the next episode. But as of right now, I'm going to stick with Bilal, and we'll come back and see what the real deal is.
Well, actually, if we come back and what the real deal is that one of these guys pulls out and Ian Gary is now the dude fighting, who would you take against either one of those and Ian Gary?
Oh, Bilal.
Oh,
I know that you're the Ian Gary super fan over here, and
what
I
about
do.
Jack Della?
Wait, you mean Jack Della versus Ian Gary?
Yeah, if Bilal
Oh,
pulls out.
that I think would be a pretty competitive fight. I might go with Ian Gary on that one.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
just a quick little, just
I
a quick
might.
one.
Yeah, I think I might. I think stat for stat. Now, I do think that Jack Della is a little bit tougher than Ian Gary, so maybe there's something to be said for the grit aspect of that fight as a potential matchup. Because also I think that Ian Gary could, if the going gets tough with the grit, Ian Gary does have enough skill to be able to take Jack down. So there might be something there as well. I think that the dynamics are certainly different for that fight, of course. So if that happens, then maybe we come back and do an emergency episode or something and talk it through that way. But as of right now, as of what's on the books here, yeah, I mean Bilal, king of the heap right now. Love it or hate it, I think he's proved himself. He's going to continue to prove himself, and I think that possibly Sean Brady might be the only person that's going to really give him a problem when it comes to what he does best.
I would just hate for the reality to be that Bilal loses his belt after everybody, overhyping the skill set. Bilal Muhammad is good. He is the champion right now. But the moment he loses, everybody's going to realize, well, maybe he wasn't as good as we thought. The same thing that happened with Leon, bro. When Leon won the fucking belt, he beat Usman, the third time, whatever you want to say. And people said Leon is going to be the GOAT of the welterweight division. They do it all the time. They do it every time there's a new champ. It's like, this dude's going to run it forever. Jack Della has the X factor to make it interesting. And if
Sure.
Bilal Muhammad thinks this is going to be a walk in the park, I'm really hoping Jack Della has something up his sleeve.
Fair. And I've never been the person that said that about Leon, and I don't necessarily think it about Bilal like in a full on extent. Like I said, I do think that Sean Brady would give him a run for his money. But I do think under these circumstances, with what I have seen, I'm going off of the data that I have. You know what I mean? Now, Jack Della comes out here and throws the fucking Jorge Masvidal flying knee to start this thing off, then obviously that's going to change my tune real quick there too. He can do a lot of things in this fight to win the belt, and you got all the runway that you need for the rest of your career at that point. Now you're a
Oh yeah.
champion, and I shut the hell up. But as of right now, I think the circumstances are right for Bilal to get this win.
I also would like to ask how much do you take into account that neither of them are playing on home field?
I don't think that really plays too much of a factor for either guy. I think that neutral territory kind of works in both of their favor, if it's even a factor at all. I want to believe for most fighters, and I would say that it's a good like 98%. There's a rare exception that maybe it plays a mental part, but most fighters got to just be comfortable with that to be able to do their thing in general. I mean, going in there sometimes even using it to your advantage, having a point to prove, like like a Mason Jones or a Zhang Mingyang we were talking about
Mhm.
earlier. It's like you go in there, you feed off of the booze and that kind of stuff. I think neutral territory kind of plays into both of their hands pretty well. So nice even neutral ground. I think that they've got nothing to no chirping to really worry about and fluster them with. And honestly, both these guys do seem pretty mentally strong. I would say that's another thing about Bilal is that like for all of the hatred that he gets online, for all of the criticisms of his fight style, he really doesn't seem like he lets much of it bother him, which I got to respect to an extent.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I hear you. This one will be very interesting, man. I'm just really excited for it. Even though I probably shouldn't be as excited as I am for it now that we're on this fight week. Like this one is going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, we'll come back and we'll see what actually happens there. Also for this fight, looking forward to it. I think this fight seems like it's going under the radar compared to the main event. This card doesn't seem like it's getting a whole lot of push in general. But this fight is one that I think a lot of people should be excited about. Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot.
Plus money on Valentina Shevchenko for a second time. When will they learn?
Yeah, that's wild.
When will they learn? There's nothing listen, and I think it's because everybody expects Valentina to use the game plan that she had in her last fight, which is just lay and pray. But that's just not what's gonna happen here. Manon does have some great takedown defense. I will give her that. But let's not forget Valentina Shevchenko is a fucking god on the feet. Like, if you think that somebody who's 35, right? If you think they got a really good chance to be the next person, well, the person who's got the belt is 37, and she's also light years better on the feet than the person who's 35. So the age is very interesting because this is not a young fucking prospect. This is not somebody who's going to be able to use their youth to their advantage. This is just another chink. This is just another brick in the wall for Valentina. Like this is I don't know how to explain it. This is just criminal that she's an underdog again.
Yeah, I mean, number one with a bullet for a reason over here. It's crazy to think that they'd be plussing her on this. It is a close line. I mean, it's not a crazy plus,
True.
but it's still, plus money either way. I think that would be everybody jumping on that. I mean, just for the fact that it's plus at all.
Mhm.
Now, I mean, Menon Furo has paid her dues at this point. She's gotten some really good wins. She's beaten some decent names. Win over Rose is always going to carry. But yeah, I mean, it's Valentina. I mean, she's a legend for a reason, and she just now won her belt back. To think that she's going to drop it to Manon Fiorot off of what? Like, what's the defining factor? Do you think that's giving people any kind of confidence in Manon?
I've heard from plenty of people that Manon is a weight bully, and she's very big for the weight class. Shevchenko is not the biggest person, but Grasso, when you look at Grasso compared to Shevchenko, dude, she's a lot fucking like, dude, her fucking biceps are huge, and Shevchenko did fine when it came to the body weight mechanics, the wrestling, the grappling, whatever you want to say.
Sure.
So if that's the reason that people are going with Manon is because she's just going to be naturally bigger, she's going to rehydrate a lot more, whatever. The skill set will not lead you to believe that a heavier person in Manon Farrow will beat the smaller Valentina Shevchenko. It's just not, dude. I've seen plenty of times Valentina just dice people up on the feet, and Manon is not some crazy defensive, you know, mastermind on the feet. Like I've seen her get popped up by fucking what was it, Blanchfield or Macy Barber, whichever one it was. Like
Blanchfield.
Valentina's gonna just set a head kick up so easily. This is what she does. The Muay Thai is gonna be, can't wait.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really it's always hard to bet against Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, like I don't like even in the circumstances that we saw with Grasso, like I don't think anybody was leading in thinking like that was going to be what it was. She got caught one time. That is true, and no one can ever take that away from Alexa Grasso. But a draw in the second, and then what we saw in the last fight, again, not the prettiest performance at Noche, but it got the job done. She got her belt back. She knows how to win. I mean, this is another prime example of where the pinnacle of skill meets the acumen of game planning.
Mhm,
I mean, so it's like you can't tell me that Manon Fiorot has that.
mhm.
It does not compute to me.
I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, 12-1, I mean, she has, like you said, she's paid her due. She's beaten the necessary people to get to this spot. But the way that she's been talking, she's been doing it on Twitter for a while now. As soon as Valentina won the belt, she was calling her out saying, let's set a date, let's get this going. It's like, let my girl take a vacation. She just got her belt back. She's 37. We don't need to worry about you right now. And now we're coming around to the time that it is time to worry about. And I just hope the same energy that Manon had on Twitter, she brings into the cage. So,
Absolutely. Don't go pulling an arm on Sarukian.
yes,
Yeah. No, yeah, it seems like a bit of a slam dunk on this one. Take that plus money is what the advice I'm giving myself and taking. So, if anybody out there thinks otherwise, that's your prerogative, but it just seems like an open and shut case is the way that I'm looking at it. I always go back to the core ideal of what is the method of victory here. And I mean, yeah, maybe the weight bully aspect of it could be possibly a thing. Clinches are up and maybe knees in the clinch. I just don't see it. There's no definitive path that sticks out in my mind as that's the thing.
well, the reason that I'm also leaning to believe that it's just unlikely for Manon to win, I mean, the only time that we've seen Grasso lose, like she got subbed. Like, what's Manon gonna do if she can't do that? I mean, and it was like a crazy quick sequence where Grasso saw the back turn, she jumped on it, sunk in the choke. I mean, and it wasn't even a choke, it was a face crank, whatever you want to say, kind of deal. But Manon is not one, she doesn't have the quick instincts to say, "Oh, she's got her back turned in that exact split moment. That's when I need to pounce," kind of deal. She's just gonna wait, let Valentina do her little pirouette, and we're back to the stand up where she's gonna get popped up. So I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard.
No, I'm agreeing. So, yep, there you go. I guess bet on Manon Fiorot at your own risk.
True.
All right, Jose Aldo versus Ayman Zahabi. We'd said I know that you're not a big fan of Zahabi, but I mean he's a dude who he's 12-2. He's been inactive in a lot of years for some reason, but also the brother of Faraz Zahabi, one of the best coaches in the game. So the team is certainly there. GSP being part of that too. We know that off of The Cage, which keep an eye out on the channel for the next installment of our review of the Cage series. But yeah, going up against a legend in Jose Aldo, but a legend who has been controllable that we have seen in the last couple of fights. So
It's interesting you talk about controllable in his last fights because the way that he was controlled is nothing like Zahabi would be able to do.
ah,
Zahabi is just a straight stand-up guy at the age of 37 too. It's not like he's going to come out here with new tactics, not no spring chicken. He's going to come out here and do his same exact counter striking game plan. And I will give him credit. It worked in his last couple matchups. Obviously, it works in a lot of them. But this is not somebody that I look at and I say, this is the guy that's winning in my book. When it comes to Jose Aldo, I think about, how credentialed he is in this sport specifically. And when it comes to just what he's able to do in the stand-up, Zahabi may not be elusive enough to make this as interesting as people are thinking. Like I think when I see this matchup, again, cut close case, like Jose Aldo is levels beyond Zahabi. And that's if you want to take into consideration that Jose Aldo is 38. Like he is old, but you've seen him compete. He's one of these dudes that just has the genetics to be old and still good. Edson Barbosa is one of those people too. The genetics are just there to be athletically gifted for however long you want. Yoel Romero is another fucking example. Jose Aldo coming into this fight, I just don't see, and I'm being a hater too, Like, I don't see Zahabi winning because I just never have seen it before. Like, not him winning, but the winning method against somebody like Jose Aldo. I have not seen him be able to do that against somebody else, kind of deal.
Well, so all of those guys that you just named, Aldo, Romero, and Barbosa, are all guys who have been on the losing side in the later years there. So
True.
the one note that I would make, I'll preface all this by saying I too am taking Jose Aldo in this fight. But what I would say is that as you get to the stage of the career where Jose Aldo is at, the prior successes in the sport, I think, should be a little bit not like, don't downplay them in your mind as in like forget about them because of the greatness that Jose Aldo holds, because he is a legend of the sport, Hall of Famer for sure. But you have to kind of separate the Aldo of old versus the Aldo of current, in my opinion. Now, that all being said, he is fighting 37-year-old Ayman Zahabi, who has been inactive, all the stuff that I just kind of talked about. And, not necessarily a dude who's like sets the world on fire when he fights. So it's really going to be, to me, the elements of game planning is going to be very important. That's going to be a big linchpin for both sides of this thing. Now, again, for Zahabi, a great coach. So there is possibility that the Zahabi camp puts together a plan that makes sense for this fight, and that might be the method there. But I just don't see that against what skills Aldo still has.
Yeah, I agree. He still looks very sharp for his age.
For sure. And if he thinks he's going to come out and strike, then it's going to be a done deal. He might end up trying to pull the Mario Bautista. He might
Mm,
end up trying to, keep him on the cage. That's the one thing that at this point is so hard to see with Jose Aldo, is it's like, brother, you cannot let yourself get held against the cage. You have to get your back off of the cage one way or another, hook or by crook, get out to open water. So hopefully he'll be able to do a little bit of that and not just stand there and look at the ref like, hey, you going to stop this? Because
yeah.
that has been frustrating with him in the past. If this is going to be a striker's affair, then yeah, I think Aldo's going to be able to take it pretty easily. But don't be surprised if Zahabi makes this more interesting than you're giving credit for.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's gonna be interesting if Zahabi makes it anything. I mean, he's gonna make it a boring decision if he's gonna win this fight. So that's just the way that I see it. It's not gonna be interesting. It may be surprising that he wins, but if he plays the same game plan that he normally does and he stays on the outside and takes very little risk, he might skate by another decision, unfortunately.
All right. So yeah, but I mean, let's bank on Jose Aldo actually getting the job done here. I think most people want to see that.
Hell yeah.
All right. The aforementioned Alexa Grasso going up against Natalia Silva. I like this fight. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Grasso takes this one. I know I'm picking a lot of dogs here, but like, guys, this is somebody who beat Valentina Shevchenko and got a draw with her the second time. Got a 10-8 in the fifth round. Whatever you want to say, that's what the judges gave. This one right here, Natalia Silva, she is good in her own right. Like, I did enjoy watching her come up, and I still do enjoy watching her. But when it comes to somebody like Grasso, now this is a true test. If you get taken down, now what? So, and this is somebody who you cannot get taken down against. So if Silva's able to play her outside game with her sidekicks and stay elusive, great. She'll win up until the point unless Grasso is able to get the single leg or get her down, get a nice trip. Anything you want to think of it, Grasso can probably pull that out. That's why I think this is a good dog.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Silva is really pretty okay with her striking, but I think that she's one of those fighters that I don't want to say it's favorable matchmaking. I think it's just like she just has the elements that she needs in the moment, which yeah, that wins you the fight, and that's great. But I think that it's like when you go up against a fighter like Grasso, who's going to be able to navigate the fight effectively, and be able to adapt to what's coming back at her, then I think that the striking acumen of Silva is going to be a little less effective, and then
Mhm.
eventually a lot less effective.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, I think that it really comes down to exactly what you said. Like if it goes to the ground, then it's going to be a big problem for Silva. And if it stays on the feet, then Grasso is going to just need to navigate through the early onslaughts, because that's, I think, one of Silva's better strengths is that she does come out pretty, like I talk about being first. I think that she does that well. She is first often. So if Grasso can adapt to that, say, okay, this is what I'm seeing, download the information, as they say, come back with a strategy thereafter, I think she's able to take it in the later rounds.
I agree. Yep.
All right. Well, we already talked about this fight, but Benoit Saint Denis versus Kyle Prepolek. I mean, I not really much else to say other than what we already said. BSD, they don't have the odds on here. What did you happen to catch? What Prepolek was plus at?
No, I think it was 800. I want to say
All
like
right.
800.
So there you, I mean, that it is what doesn't matter what the actual number is. If you said he was Saint Denis was a minus 1200.
15.
Minus 15. Okay, so the odds speak for itself, people. I mean, if you want to try, pick a method if you really want to try to make any money on this fight. Otherwise, you just sit back and watch this mauling that the UFC has put in front of us for no reason.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, buddy, our
Hopefully, I'm
feature.
alling.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But our good friend Mike Malott as the featured prelim here against Charles Radke, blood brother, Pride coming back and coming in hot off of his last fight, right? No, was his last?
Yes,
Yeah, right. He got a knockout
he
in his last one, didn't he?
beat. Yes, he knocked out Matt Smellsberger.
Yeah, Matt Semmelsberger coming in
That's
off
his
of
name.
a hot win there. So yeah, proper Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. What you thinking?
I'm taking my boy blood brother Pride because Mike Malott, yes, he is very well rounded, but as you've seen with Neil Magny, you're able to beat this guy. And Charles Radke may not be the type of dude that Neil Magny is, where he can get beat up for 3 rounds and then come back and win, or five, whatever it was, because it was the main event, I think, at the time, was it? No.
The Magny fight? No,
Yes.
that was the co-main of the
Okay, okay.
that Canada card, I believe.
So yeah, I would like to believe Charles Radke. I'm picking too many damn dogs, but Mike Malott is somebody that I've seen fall to the pressure. And Charles Radke, I mean, listen, he's been put down by Carlos Prates, but that was a knee to the sternum. That shit hurts. I get it. This one right here, Mike Malott, I don't believe it.
Charles Radke is a dogged fighter. Like he's a
Mhm,
dude who actually is like rough and tumble, go out there and lay hands on you. He almost, really is kind of like an old school fighter in that way. I mean, he really goes out there with just the tough guy mentality, and he believes his own bullshit too, which
mhm.
is sometimes very dangerous. You're going up against Mike Malott, who really, to me, at this point, especially after that last fight. I forgot who did he fight last? It was
It was shitty. It was Trevin Giles.
yes, the
Wow.
Trevin Giles fight, exactly. That fight there exemplified why you cannot take Mike Malott in this fight. Mike Malott is a tournament style combat striker, but it's not a gritty fighter.
Mhm,
He's not a dude who's going to go out there and make it dirty. He's going to be very technical. He's going to be very accurate, perhaps. Yes, I think that he'll probably lay some hands on Radke when he's doing his work, but Radke is going to be in there taking shots to give 17 back. And
mhm.
when Radke gets in close and starts laying shots to the body, I think he folds over Mr. Malott.
Yeah, Charles Radke, I do agree. He should be able to implement a lot of dirty boxing. Make the fight dirty, not illegally, but just make it gritty and make Mike Malott worry about what's coming back at him.
Absolutely. 10,000%. Because, yeah, go back and watch the Giles fight and how they both conducted themselves in that fight. Radke is not going to be anywhere near that style of fighter. He's going to
Mhm.
get in Mike Malott's face and he's going to lay on hands.
Yeah, I agree. I like this one.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually looking forward to that one a lot. All right. Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. I like this one too. This is a big test for Jasdavicius over here.
I think we do have to understand that Jessica Andrade does have the most knockouts for female fighters in the UFC history. Now, when you go into that and you understand that she is a 5'1" lady, it is very hard to think that she's going to get another knockout against somebody who plays range and is at very technically sound as Jasmine. She does she does have her moments, and I don't know if she's going to get caught by Andrade because she's just a hook merchant at the end of the day. But the grappling should be interesting if Jasmine gets to it. Andrade is not probably somebody you're going to sub. She's just too stocky for it. but I think Jasmine probably should win this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Jasmine, if she can get close, get in to a clinch situation early, start gaining the respect early. I think that that's one of the problems that I see in Andrade sometimes is that she she gets flustered in a way where she doesn't seem to have the answers, even though she's been around for so long. You'd think by now that she would have a game plan formulated for these exact situations that she finds herself in. But you get her up against the cage, you get her down, you start gaining respect round over round. And, if she can't land those power shots that she's known for, then it really is a moot point. She ends up on her back, and then it's really just a lot of scrambling and trying to get herself back to her feet. And you do that over the course of 15 minutes. I think Jasmine can make that happen.
Yep, I agree.
Modestas Bukauskas versus Iwan Kutelaba, the fabled fight that was called for and answered to by the organization. This is an interesting one.
I love the story behind this. You have two dudes who get, finishes and they call for more. And then at the end of the day, they both get matched up to each other. And that's exactly what I love to see. If you're gonna be a dude who comes out here and finishes and you want to talk a big game, if you say you want more, here's exactly how you fucking do it. You go get the dude who just did it on the same night as you and you say, I want him. And then here's what we get. And I'm very excited for this. Cutelaba is not somebody that again I'm not gonna do minus. Oh, it's okay. Coin flip.
Minus on both sides. It's a pick 'em.
This one's very tough, but you could just bet for a finish on this.
Yeah, inside the distance is probably a good call here. Kutelaba is a fucking wild man, so any fight that he's in is going to be at least entertaining. Bukauskas, on the other hand, I think is a little bit more controlled, but he's also a dude that can get touched. So, I mean, this is really, I really do enjoy this, I think that this is going to be an enjoyable fight. I like this fight on paper a lot. This has potential for fireworks. I think that I agree. Inside the distance is probably the way to go here. Who's going to take it? It is certainly a toss up, but it should be entertaining one way or another. And yeah, we're just gonna have to see what version of each of them shows up, because both of these guys are dudes who have taken their losses and then knocked people out as well.
Exactly. Yeah, the bounce back is pretty real between both of them. So I like this one a lot.
Sure. And now, going to this, who was it? It was Cooper Rowe was in the chat earlier. I'll throw this up on the screen. Why not? He was saying Navajo Sterling ex Bilal as the parlay. What are your thoughts? Well, Navajo Sterling is fighting Ivan Urslan. Excuse me. So, what are you thinking about that as a parlay and about Navajo Sterling in this fight?
I think the first leg of that parlay is definitely hitting because Navajo is probably going to smoke this dude. I mean, he's unfortunately, I will say that he does have the city kickboxing style where he's very on the back foot. He's looking to counter strike, and Navajo is a very large fucking light heavyweight. He
Yes.
has the power to put people out, and he has the imposing size to make you not want to strike with him. I just think it's going to depend on if Navajo actually goes out there with the intent to be first and not play the counter.
Yeah, I mean, I can jive with that. Having seen Navajo Sterling fight live, I saw him versus Tuco Tokos. I think that there were some exposures of cracks in not cracks in the game, again, not the right word to use for it though. It was more like he humanized himself in that fight in a way that I think people were expecting different of him when he had gotten such a dominant performance on the Contender Series. But that being said, still a victorious effort, and a pretty conclusive one at that. It wasn't exactly a close fight. Now, granted, that was against Tokos, who is not a great fighter to begin with. So against Urslan, I mean, I think that if he could get caught, I think that there might be potential for that. Like it might be one of those kind of like deals where something just lucky lands. But if it's a technical fight and the fight that Sterling wants it to be, or if he makes it the fight that he wants it to be, I think that it should go his way.
Yeah, Urslan is like the poor man's, Uzdemir kind of deal. So
Right.
not
Yeah.
really.
That's exactly it. I mean, and that's why, like, even a Volkan Oezdemir can get a knockout if the circumstances are right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there is potential for that, but I would be thinking that Navajo Sterling should be getting the job done. However, though, keep in mind this is the year of the Taken O. So,
Mhm.
he's an undefeated fighter, and it has been a bad year for those guys.
Yeah, I agree. This one will be interesting for sure. But Navajo, I like this dude a lot, so I'm excited to see what's more for him.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. We'll have to see if he does his little nose touchy thing that he
Yeah.
always does. And all right, moving down to the early prelims. Marc-Andre Barrio versus Bruno Silva. Didn't Bruno Silva retire? Why is he back here?
Yes. He did retire and he did come back. And I would just like to once again point out that on Saturday, we got a promotion for this fight on the big screen telling you not to miss quote unquote the featured prelim. By the way, guys, this is the third fight of the night.
This is
This ain't
the featured early prelim.
yeah, I mean, they had to make sure we didn't miss this one, guys. They
Yeah,
they
yeah.
they had to let us know Bruno Silva and Marc-Andre Barry, like, they're going at it, guys. At the 3rd fight of the night, make sure you're on Disney Plus watching, seriously.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's, I don't care too much. Marc-Andre, I would hope wins this one because I do kinda like that dude. He's kind of interesting.
I know you've talked some pretty high praise for him before, and that I think was going into a losing effort there. But
The
against
Solstice knockout, yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But against Bruno Silva, who it's like, why are you here? Yeah, I think that he most certainly should be able to get this win, and then Bruno needs to go down and stay down.
Mhm, yeah, agreed.
All right, Daniel Santos versus Jung Young Lee. What are you thinking here? Santos, a dude who I think we have pretty conclusively thought has not been very impressive in the past.
This is also a short notice bout, I'm pretty sure. This was just
Ah,
like a fill-in. Somebody was supposed to fight, and Daniel Santos was not the one that was booked. So
gotcha.
he's the one filling on short notice. And yes, he is. Let me just double check. He is a shoot box guy. Yes. Yes, he is a shoot box guy. This is the standard shoot box fucking below 55 or style, build. He's just got
Yeah.
blonde hair, he's skinny, he's tall, whatever.
Uh,
He's actually not tall at all. I'm lying my ass off. But either way, I it's the shoot box style only works for Charles, and even then, it's not working anymore. So, um, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe in shoot box. Just saying.
yeah, I mean, and just anytime that, even though he is only 12-2, I don't think that there's been a whole lot that I can recall off the top of my head that has been like that's a next up guy. Jung Young Lee, a dude who I'm fairly certain we've seen some decent work out of, if he's the person I'm thinking of anyway. I gotta believe that he'll take that fight. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm going with my boy from Korea. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, and also if the short notice is even at least an aspect of it at all, then yeah, I think that that's pretty.
His last loss came to a Hyder Emil in the first round. It was just that
Ah,
quick flurry and just dropped him. So Hyder Emil's pretty damn good, and he did knock you out. So it's hard to gauge, but I would still take my boy Jing Young.
yeah, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, if it goes into like a heavy amount of ground game, then perhaps the BJJ takes precedent. But just gut instinct is telling me to go with Lee.
100%.
And to round this thing out, Brad Katona, contender series, man, not contender series, tough, Mr. Tough himself, excuse
Mhm.
me. Brad
Superman.
Katona, yeah, Superman, two-time tough man versus Bekzat Almakan.
Do you
Uh,
recognize who that is?
do I? Who did he fight?
He stepped up on short notice to fight Umar.
Oh, indeed. And he did not win that fight, eh?
Did not, but he did drop him in the first round with a head kick.
Okay.
So
All right.
it made Umar fold a little bit. But anyway, this one is interesting. The fact that they have Bezcat as a favorite. Yes, he is a great striker, but Brad Katona is also decent enough at striking that he can make it, close. But then he also has that factor that he'll shoot for a takedown with 10 seconds left to secure the round. So I think it's hard for me to say that Bezcat's going to be, the favorite in my eyes because Brad Katona will probably just get him to the ground and hold him there. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and look, Brad has this reputation that that's what he does, that he's like a clinch heavy guy. But we have also seen Brad in some really heated fire exchanges. And he's not, look, he's a little bit of a pretty boy. He's a little bit of a diva. All those things are true. But the dude is tough and he
Mhm.
will take those shots. Like he is not afraid to stand and trade if it's necessary. He's just not a person who's going to take unnecessary risks. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, I mean, I think that ends up leading to a pretty solid strategy a lot of the time. And we'll see if Bexot can counteract that. But off rip, I mean, Brad is plus money. That's decently attractive to me.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time he was plus money, um, but he has been winning convincingly. I don't think he's lost in his next run yet. He did.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
he lost to John Masamuto. That's right, and Garrett
yeah,
Hartfield. Holy shit, this dude's
yeah. I was gonna say he's lost to both to Armfield and Matsumoto. Yeah, I mean Matsumoto, of course, he's surging on to be greater, even though he did take a loss in his last fight. But either way, that's a very tough opponent for sure. Is Bexot on that level?
I
Eh,
mean, he hasn't fought since March 2nd of last year, so more than a year has passed. I think ring rust is also going to play a factor. Bracatona's not terribly active himself, but at least when he fights, you can tell that there's not like a level of like rust to him. Like he's always he has the game plan. Like he
oh
knows what
yeah,
he's doing.
he's very locked in. He's very locked into his training as well. Might not be the guy who's going to take a lot of direction necessarily, but he does have a pretty solid team. I mean, he has a team that works for him. He's an
Yeah,
SBG Ireland guy. They're their own sort of beast over there in a weird way, and it's been successful to an extent with what he's been working with in the past. So yeah, I'm gonna again, for plus money, I think you can do a lot worse than giving a shot to Brad on this one.
true. 100%.
And we'll see what happens on that in that fight. Of course, we will come back to talk about each and every one of these fights next week. That is Monday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. And of course, for the fights themselves, we have our individual watch alongs. Myself and the Vitz King will be here on the Yama channel. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
You guys can find me doing watch alongs and making some other good videos on youtube.com/@CP Smalls. And then, of course, if I'm on Twitter and you want to come hang out at Creative Partin, Partin. And, we're always just having good times out there. And be ready for fucking next week because these fights, I'm telling you, I'm actually low key excited to talk about these once they happen.
Absolutely. Same here. That's youtube.com/@Yama Show, @Yama Show on Twitter and Instagram as well. New videos on the channel coming out. We had the cage review that just came out, talked a little bit about the situation with Francis Ngannou. So always some new stuff coming out. Of course, keep your eyes peeled for anything else we got. Probably something coming along this week as well. So yeah, enjoy all of that, and we will be back to talk about all of these fights. If you're not already subscribed and you've been watching us for this long, make sure that you are subscribed to Yama and to Chase Partin, CP Smalls. We appreciate it. We're both making some pushes here to get the subscriber count up. Each one of them counts and each one of them helps. So till we see you next time, everybody, have a great rest of your night, and as always, fight on.